your host, and the co-host is Elijah. You guys don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe to our channel. We appreciate all of you. We also have two other channels called Speak to Sports and Pray to All Here. And the best part of this show is our reaction, and that's at the end. A lot of people, we should have been doing it when we had millions of viewers, letting them know that we are reacting to these videos and giving our opinions, and we're responding to the chat. So if you want to chat it up with us and you want to be heard, join us at the end. So right now, Trump is going to have his cabinet meeting in regards to Iranian war. Like, hopefully, this does not become an endless war, but most Americans are feeling the effect of what's going on through the gas pumps. So I know that I saw someone yesterday saying that they're in Chicago, like the gas prices were $5.99. So that's a lot. So anyway, we're going to before we go live with Trump, we're going to go. Trump hosts his cabinet meeting today, and we're going to.
President Trump is set to hold a high-stakes cabinet meeting at the White House. All hands on deck. His administration is mapping out the next steps in the negotiations with Iran.
But Tehran is accusing the United States of violating their fragile ceasefire agreement.
Senior White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich joins us live with the details. Good morning, Jackie.
Good morning to you guys. Yeah, most of the president's marathon cabinet meetings happen right here at the White House in front of reporters. But amid this tense negotiation with Iran, today's was slated to take place at Camp David, the same place where he convened his cabinet just before bombing Iran's nuclear sites last summer. But that changed yesterday. The president posted, based on possible bad weather conditions tomorrow, we'll be having our cabinet meeting in the White House. We'll be postponing the cabinet trip to Camp David. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The stakes are pretty high. Iran accused the U.S. of a grave violation of the ceasefire after CENTCOM carried out what it described as defensive strikes on missile launch sites and Iranian boats trying to lay mines. They vowed to respond as well. This happened just days after the president announced a deal to end the war was largely negotiated. Iran says they will go through with this deal if they get $24 billion in frozen funds. That's according to Iranian state media. And that condition has some Republican lawmakers like Ted Cruz warning that a deal that emboldens Iran would be a mistake. The president, of course, is pushing back against anyone who doubts his ability to make a good deal. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio backed him up yesterday, saying the president will either make a good deal or no deal, adding that negotiations could take a few more days as the two sides hash out an agreement to reopen the strait and extend the ceasefire for a second phase of talks in which they would hash out a nuclear agreement. And the president has repeatedly warned that military action remains an option if the talks collapse, even as officials around here keep an optimistic tone about a diplomatic resolution, guys.
All right, Jackie, thanks so much.
Thanks.
So the president wants to get his cabinet, he likes hearing multiple voices on an issue, but also when they're doing the Sunday shows out there doing other networks, they all need to be on the same page as well when it comes to the president's messaging on this. He wants peace to happen, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to accomplish that at this moment with the way the Iranians are handling this conflict.
It looks like they're also going to talk about Gaza and the post-war planning. Steve Witkoff has a plan for humanitarian aid or strategy for the Gaza Strip. Also the economy, small business achievements, and this task force that we've been talking about this morning, eliminating fraud.
Yep.
So in this meeting, they're going to be talking about what Iran's brought to the table and also the different voices. So you got the president, who's like a ceremonial president, not like a king or queen, a little bit more power than that.
In Iran, not Trump.
In Iran, yeah. So the president's dealing with him, and he says, okay, these are the things we need to do. So we got to get out the 1,000 pounds of uranium. You have to commit to zero enrichment. In turn, they want some of their frozen funds unfrozen. So let's say it's $100 billion. So they'll say possibly on the table is unfreezing $25 billion, which could be controversial, but you have to give some, understood. And then, of course, they limit the ballistic missile program, and the funding to the proxy's got to stop. So let's say you can work out some of those, but they have to fundamentally open the strait, no tolls. They fundamentally have to say, here's the plan to get the uranium, and they also have to say zero enrichment. So what has to give is the $25 billion unfrozen. Well, the problem is the president got pushback of Iran, got pushback from the IRGC saying, we don't want to give in on that. So Senator Roger Wicker, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Lindsey Graham, Senator Tim Sheehy, all have said to the president, you could be historic in making a change to a 47-year problem. And my answer to them is this: go out and you fight Cory Booker. You go take on Van Hollen. You go take on all these Ro Khanna. Don't let the president do it himself, and Marco Rubio and Michael Waltz. So if you feel that way, and you do, and I believe you're sincere, why is the president fighting alone? You go find a camera and another network. You explain what's going on in this region. What I think is comical when people say that they are not enriching uranium, they weren't close to a bomb.
It's nonsense.
It is a fact. We had our number one weapons inspector, David Albright, tell who, by the way, nothing. He's not MAGA. Told the International Security Agency and independent experts that they were months away from a nuclear weapon and they were prepared to do it. And for those people who say that the JCPOA was better, it would have evaporated. It had a 10-year expiration date on it, and they were allowed to enrich with that.
And we were not allowed to send in inspectors.
Yes, we had cameras, which mysteriously would be out of commission.
Correct.
So that was a parade of ridiculousness. And for people to go back to the JCPOA, I just ask you, why did Democrat Ben Cardin not vote for it? Why did Democrat Menendez not vote for it? Why did Democrat Chuck Schumer not vote for it? Because it was terrible, one-sided, and it depended on trusting the Iranians. Does any sober, sane person trust the Iranians?
Especially
No.
after this, not even the Gulf states trust them. So, and that should tell you a lot.
And especially with their messaging, they have said this for decades that they want to wipe America off the map, Israel off the map. They hate us. They say death to America. If they have the potential to build a nuclear weapon, who will they lob that toward? Will it be Israel? Will it be America? Do you even want to mess with this? I don't understand why the Democrats are not on board. We should unite against Iran.
And the Saudis got to grow a spine and be like the UAE, who is saying we understand it's going to be painful, but you have to finish the job. Because we have also had 41 days to fortify our bases and get those desalinization plants protected. I hope we have done that. We do that, that would be the ultimate check. And they are beginning to open up the internet, not because they're being nice, because because e-commerce has stopped. They have zero revenue.
Right.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox.
We have to band together as far as Americans. Either we support the invasion, I guess, of Ukrainian to stop them from having nuclear weapons and support the president, or we don't. It's like this stuff is like so serious, and I think is a lot more serious than a lot of Americans are taking it. We're going to hear from some of the Iranians and see what they have to say about it. But what's going on now affects the world. If they do have the capability of a nuclear weapon, then what Trump is doing is really protecting everyone, per se.
Is exactly what we saw just a couple minutes ago. The president posting on Truth Social that he had what he's calling a positive call with leaders. This is concerning, of course, Iran and all things related to a memorandum of understanding pertaining to peace. The president writing on Truth Social, an agreement has been largely negotiated subject to finalization between the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran. The president also went on to say that he spoke with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, which then quote saying, likewise, that would very well. Final aspects of the details of the deal are currently being discussed and will be announced shortly. So to kind of break down who was in this call, we're told that this was a call between the president as well as the leaders of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Jordan, and Bahrain. So the main gist of this right here, the president writing, in addition to the many aspects, if we can bring that back up, the many aspects of the element, the Strait of Hormuz will be reopened. And then again, saying thank you for your attention to that matter. So that's been the main gist of what these calls are reportedly breaking down. The Strait of Hormuz needs to be reopened. We have, of course, heard the president reaffirm time and time again that in order for any kind of deal, there would need to be some kind of agreement that would involve the enriched uranium, turning that over, and a guarantee that Iran would not be able to have any nuclear capabilities. We did hear earlier today on Iranian state TV, the Iranians saying that that's not part of this deal. So we'll wait to hear more from the administration if there is anything more that we should be following as it pertains to that. We did see a Marine sentry posted outside of the West Wing, and that indicates that the president is typically working or at least in the building in the Oval Office. And again, just moments ago, the president confirming that
with this new breaking news? Molly?
Alex, you too, standing at the ready. Thank you so much for bringing that. Multiple big headlines there, breaking news. I think you answered my follow-up question as to if we had the details about the uranium enrichment and also how the material would be handled, which is, you mentioned, were the 2 points that Marco Rubio had flagged and the president has been consistent on, that we're still waiting for the details, but the president promising more details to come. Alex Hogan, really fascinating report. We greatly appreciate it. Your report.
We might hear from Marco Rubio. I don't know. I like Marco Rubio. I think he's doing a phenomenal job as Secretary of the State. We're going to hear from him. I know the White House is about to go live, so we're going to catch
Let's
him.
go, Secretary of State Marco Rubio answering a question on the U.S. plan for Iran while in India. Listen.
There is a chance that whether it's later today, tomorrow, in a couple of days, we may have something to say. But this issue needs to be solved, as the president has said, one way or the other. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. The straits need to be opened without tolls. They need to turn over their enriched uranium. They need to turn over their highly enriched uranium. We need to address that issue. We need to address the issue of enrichment. These are the president's points consistently. And his preference is always to deal with it in a diplomatic way. The president's preference is always to solve problems such as these through a negotiated diplomatic solution. That's what we're working on right now. But this problem will be solved, as the president's made clear one way or the other. We hope it's done through the diplomatic route. That's what we're working on, and perhaps there'll be something to talk about on that topic while I'm here on this visit at some point.
I'm really enjoying what's Marco Rubio and what's going on. I think that he's probably one of the most qualified to negotiate what's going on with the Iranian war. I know they sent J.D. Vance over to Iran with Kushner, and I forget the other gentleman's name, but they came back as failures. They did not resolve anything. So I felt as though they were trying to push J.D. Vance out there, and if he had accomplished some, agreement, some negotiation, I believe that he would be the front runner for the Republican Party for 2028. But right now, I don't feel as though that he is the front runner. I want to talk about Cuba. That's probably gonna be on another video because Cuba, they talking about like they want to declare war on the United States, but that's a whole nother live that we're going to do.
People in the comments are saying like that they would vote for neither, and why would you vote for either one? They've been destroying.
You know what? People that said that they would vote for neither one. The point is that no vote is a vote. We need to have that understanding, and you need to know how valuable your vote is. You have people fighting over the vote. We had open borders to allow people to come into this country unvetted. That's how important the vote. They didn't come in, and we didn't open up our borders because of the kindness of our hearts. The borders was opened up because they said this could be another voting party for the Democratic Party. It's always a reason behind what they do. They're not do that wasn't for the best interest of American people. They did that because it's all about power. Listen to me, and it's always about money. We're last on the list. So when you don't vote and you don't exercise your vote, then you are voting. Okay. So go ahead. You need to come in the live.
I say two things. People have literally died for the right to vote. And John, then why was Joe Biden's team selling the pieces of the border wall, and why was he flying them in via plane to this country if the borders were never open?
See, a lot of times we're so hooked on party that we're not hooked on the best people. And both parties have issues, if you want to be honest. Both parties have issues. I voted for the Democrats and I voted for the Republicans, period. And I go by the candidates. But I'm not going to give up. The last election, there were only two choices. Well, it was three. First it was Biden and Trump. Then it was Kamala and Trump. Kamala was not she wasn't even a good candidate for the Democratic Party.
What's your response to that? The borders were never open.
If the borders were never open.
John said the borders were never open.
Well, you know what? How did we get all the 14 million plus non-citizens into this country? And who are you trying to go? Everybody knows the truth. That's not even a conversation. You can live in bubble land all you want to. But every news media, every content creator, every kind of ground news, every kind of news source, you know that these people came in. We opened up our border. The administration said they opened up the borders. They said they couldn't close the borders. They have films and videos with millions of people coming in. So that's just how it is. But anyway, getting back to the vote, you should exercise your right to vote because there's so many people want you to sit out of the election. They don't want you to vote, but your vote means a lot.
Okay, I got a reply. John, so why do you think that
You spend too much time with these people.
why
Go ahead.
why do you think that no, you gotta reply to the comments. Why do you think that they allow so many people in? Because they said, do you guys hear yourself? The borders were open so the Democrats can get more votes. LOL.
You are not an American citizen. You're not an American citizen because we're not dumb. We're not stupid Americans.
Yeah.
It's been on every freaking news channel. It was even talked about in the previous administration that opened up the borders. You have Homeland Security and the people that were on the border that were there. There were people. The borders were open. Who you think are in the sanctuary cities? Answer me that.
Why do you think
Who you think are in the sanctuary cities? Who was Governor, what's his name? I can't even think of it, from Texas. He was sending all the buses when they were coming in through Texas through that wall. He was shipping them to New York and all the blue states. Because Texas couldn't handle all those people that was coming in from their border. The border wasn't closed.
why do you think New York looks the way it does now?
So explain the sanctuary cities that we have and the protections in the sanctuary cities for non-citizens. I mean, come on now. We're not going to be in denial since you're bringing it up. This is not even about all that. I don't know. We're like, regressing into a whole nother conversation. But we're not going to pretend that the borders weren't open. That's too far. This is called Speak the Truth 2.0. This is not Speak the Lie. So anyway, Trump is going to talk about the Iranian war. He's going to talk about the Iranian war. We need to know what's going on with the Iranian war. So United States, we got a lot of problems, like 99 problems, and how Jay-Z says. We got to pick one. Today, the problem that we're going to talk about is the Iranian war. Like, what's going on with that? How are we going to end this war? What is the war costing us, not just financially? Last numbers I heard was $25 billion. But what is it costing us at the gas pump? What is it costing us at our standard of living? What is it costing us that we're tied into that? And guess what? The rest of the world is not even supporting the Iranian war. It's like the United States and Israel are fighting this alone, and they're telling us the war is because of the Iranians to keep them from having nuclear capabilities.
You expect, because we're black, to follow the same script that all other black people, 93%, follow. We think for ourselves. Because people in the comments getting emotional and a little disrespectful, saying that we're mentally ill and that you have the same argument that you're not American when someone says something.
You know what? It's the truth.
Yeah.
Because you can't be American and if you're American, you know what's going on. You sound like an outsider, someone from another country. I mean, to get on the stream and say that the borders were never open. I mean, who are you kidding? I mean, to say that you didn't like the borders being open or being closed, but just to say they weren't open. Come on now.
We're admitting fault.
You're doing too much. Nobody believes what you're saying because we have the proof. Of course, that's why we have sanctuary cities for non-citizens. That's why they have protection in sanctuary cities. Okay? That's proof right there. There'd be no need for sanctuary cities. And to be able to have to put them on our welfare system to take care of them when they cross the borders, because when they came in, they came with the clothes on their back. But this is not even about Elijah. You're having us talk about a subject. This is not what the stream is about.
It is about race because you want to say that to a white content creator who's saying the same thing about the borders. It's just people in the comments getting a little disrespectful.
But you know what? You gotta be. You can't be on live. You can't stand 10 toes down. If you have people they can agree to disagree. Because people like to be in bubble land is more comfortable than reality and the truth. I mean, you can't go on anybody's channel or go to the new, even Democrats know the borders were open. Every news media from NS Now to NSNBC to CBS, all the news channels and mainstream media all have confirmed the borders were open. So for someone to come on to just blatantly lie, that's a big stretch, but that's a whole nother ball game. And I don't know how we start. I want to talk about the Iranian war, about this cabinet meeting. And I guess that this is great because we need to know what the president is saying about this war because it's costing us. It's costing us with our relationships around the world. It's costing us financially, 25 billion and counting. It's costing us at the gas pump. How much is gas where you live at? Because people are having a hard time paying for gas to go back and forth to work. And food prices are high. They can't take their families out to dinner. Less people are going to be taking summer vacations this summer because they can't afford gas prices. They can't afford to go on these trips. Have you been in markets? So because of the Strait of Hormuz being closed, I see things that are not on the shelf. I see supermarkets are trying to act like food is there and they're lining it up. Instead of stacking back, they're lining up front like 5 products and give you the illusion like the food is there.
I'm so proud of you. You know my name.
So it's amazing the result of what's going on. So we were focused on the war with Russia and Ukraine against Putin and Zelensky. Now we're involved with the Ukrainian war with us and Israel. We are involved, and we need China to hold back because they want to invade Taiwan. So if they decide to invade Taiwan, we can't fight everyone. And then Cuba, they're talking about they want to declare war because what's going on with Cuba, because Trump, I think he would take over Cuba as well, but we can't keep spreading our military thin.
Someone said people are coming to this country for opportunities. If we want people to stop coming here illegally, we need to stop going into countries and taking their resources.
You know what? People come here. We want opportunities in our own damn country. How about that? People come here. Not 14. No country can sustain 14 million people in the span of 4 years coming in, and it costs us $470 billion to take them on. We're losing more money than they're coming in. We don't need millions of people for farmers or to pick crops. They're not getting just those jobs or whatever you think. And whatever taxes that they have paid, people say, well, they pay, but they're not paying. I have a list of what they actually pay and what they don't pay. So it's a lot deeper, but y'all not digging deeper to what's going on. The people are so like this and that, but what about Americans' unemployment? What about Americans needing jobs? What about Americans before they came in are living out on the streets?
But here's the thing: people act like it's not illegal. It's illegal.
Yeah, like it's not illegal. They are welcome to come into the country legally. Apply for citizenship. This is a country full of immigrants. People understand that this country is $39 trillion in debt. There's no other country in the world that carries the debt in the United States because we've been Bank of America for the world. And nobody's coming to rescue America when we fall. When we have our fires in California, nobody came from around the world, from your country or another country, to say we're going to give y'all billions of dollars for y'all to get on your feet, like America does for other countries that were in need. When we have our hurricanes and our American citizens are put in tent, nobody is there to rescue our American citizens. Okay, so we need to be mindful of the people that are here. They need help as well. And when you talk about what I'm realizing that I didn't understand, that when you talk about Americans and the needs of Americans and the taxpayer dollars that are being used, but then people feel so entitlement, like we're not supposed to use it on ourselves. And it's our money. And we don't control it. Our government did all this. And they never opened up the borders. We weren't having these discussions years ago. And they never opened up the borders. It would never be no such thing as sanctuary cities. How about that? All this stuff that's been going on and this back and forth between the Republican Party and Democratic Party, this wouldn't be discussions. Maybe they'd be talking about healthcare. Maybe they would be talking about cost of living. Maybe they'd be talking about the interest rate and inflation. But they're not talking about those things. That's not even a discussion. But today we're going to talk about the Ukrainian war. Okay. And where is this leading us to? How long do we perceive that this war is going to continue? And what should we do meanwhile as Americans?
I was the Republican first. We need some mods in here, but I was the Republican first.
You gravitate a lot to the negativity, and it doesn't matter. You know what? You keep your kids in bubble land all you want to. Okay, I can say I've been with presidents of the United States. I can say that I've been with Bernie Sanders and all the political people. My position was Director of Publications and Legislation. I've been with the AFL-CIO, all these different organizations. I've given speeches, thousands of rallies. I even got a video you could go with Biden and I got selfies with them, with him, with President Obama, all of them. I've been in Congress. I've been in the corridors. I'm not just someone talking. I'm in the political field. I campaigned hard for Biden and other Democratic leaders, canvassing, having groups of people doing phone banking around the country, doing speeches, all of it, the whole 9 yards. And I was disappointed because when I campaigned like that, I didn't campaign for an open border. I campaigned for a better life for American citizens. I didn't know the agenda was to try to open up the borders. That somebody had this big bright idea from the party that this is way that they can sustain and retain power. Everything's about power, and that's it. So I've been on that side totally and completely. When my son, he been like, even before he could vote Trump, he was like going against everything I believed in this house. I was campaigning hard. That's what I do. I was representing hundreds and thousands of people. Okay? And I got receipts. That's because there's with Josh Shapiro and all that coming to my rallies, all of the Cory Booker, all them Democratic leaders you could think of, I've been in the room with them.
That's because I hope they
I need to be putting up pictures of me and Bernie saying or just not just in the room, actually having conversations.
See through it one day, but the people, they're stuck watching the mainstream news.
They watching the mainstream media. We're not on here for mainstream media. We're on here because this is called Speak the Truth for a reason. And what I realize is that people are not adult enough to listen. Nobody's saying taken away from someone else. I'm saying as American citizens, why aren't Americans included? The focus is not on American citizens.
And another thing, people are comfortable with their narrative.
They're very comfortable with their narratives, and that's where they want to remain at. So you can remain stuck in your bubble, but I'm an independent thinker. I'm an independent voter at this point. Because I've been voting for Democrats as long as I've been able to vote. Just going to the poll, not looking at records, straight down like most blacks, straight down ballot. Oh, vote for the Democrats because the Republicans are boogeymen. The Republicans are against us. So don't look at any candidate on the Republican side. Just look at Democrats who have failed us, who have done nothing for us, and continue to make promises to us. And after a while, you get tired of doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Don't they call that insanity? So now I'm looking at who's running. What are you going to do for all of us? Not just one ethnicity, all Americans, one nation under God. And anybody that's coming to this country non-citizen, then they can apply for citizenship.
You know that the Southern Democrats are the party that was for the Ku Klux Klan?
They started the Ku Klux Klan.
Republicans fought against that. Do you know Joe Biden, Democrat president, was the author of the 1994 crime bill that mass incarcerated black people?
Do you know the Democrats they were the ones who were behind Jim Crow? They were the ones for the civil rights bill that filibustered. The Democrats, they filibustered for over 70 days to stop the civil rights bill. Are you kidding me? it goes on and on and on. I thought it was the Republicans. It's the Democrats that did this. All this time, I thought it was them, but that's how it goes. That's how life is. But anyway, we're waiting for Trump to come on for this cabinet meeting regarding the Iranian war, which, like, the longer this war goes on, it's not good for any of us. Period. Because it's costing us more money. It's costing us more money at the pump. We're focused on so many things, and you have people in this country that are suffering, and they need to be paying attention. So when people go to the polls in 2026, and when they go to the polls for 2028, it's going to be interesting. Like, I think that JD Vance, I think that Marco Rubio, going to be the front runners for the Republican Party. I think that's already been decided. That they're going to be the front runners. I don't know when become president, vice president, but they're going to run for president. They're saying JD Vance might not run right now because his attitude, like, people not feeling him, which I'm not. And so I don't know, but I'd like to see a woman run. But now that Tulsi, another woman has left the cabinet, and because her husband has cancer, so I don't know in 2028 if she'll take another run for the president. But it should be a woman, a strong woman running. And I like her because she's military. She's not a weak woman. She's strong. You got to have a woman that could stand 10 toes down and get the respect of leaders around the world. Because when you run for president of the United States, it's not just about America. You got to be able to be in the rooms with some of the most powerful people in the world. And I would like to see a woman to be able to do that. I don't think Kamala, she was never that woman because she couldn't even talk to the media, to Americans, without word salads and without a script. So she just is not a public speaker. I don't know what it is.
What did Lyndon B. Johnson say?
Well, if Lyndon B. Johnson, if you could pick the pocket, if you could get people of different ethnicity to believe that they're, well, I'm just paraphrasing, like they're the more superior in the room, then you could pick their pockets. So that's saying it gently, but I'm not trying to go there on this live. I'm trying to really to stick to why this live is the Iranian war. And don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe, because the way YouTube operates now, they go by likes, and that doesn't cost you anything because this is just conversation. And this is like so you guys can chat there, you can agree to disagree. And let me look at what the poll is right now. Let's see. Okay, who would you vote for president 2028? 28% says look like JD Vance. 26% say JD Vance, and 74% so far says Rubio. So right there, it just shows right there that people are more focused on voting for Rubio than JD Vance. And the way that these parties operate, they're not going to put their money with someone that they don't feel as though that's going to be able to win. And I think that they are. You might have to change the thumbnail. I don't think that they think that he's going to be able to carry the party. It's something about him. He's not Trump. Trump has MAGA. And I know he's trying to lead Turning Point USA and he's doing all these other things, but I don't think that he has I don't know. He's been put in these positions, but I don't think that he's what the people want, the Republican Party, who they want. They can't want Rubio after we invade Cuba. Yeah, Cuba is an issue right now too. Cuba is a big issue. Every time they say they're going to do these news conferences, it does take a while. But we need you guys, the ones that's on here, please hit that like. It doesn't cost anything because we want the conversation to get out, to continue, and to show support without a monetary support, because we take our time to try to bring you content without a teleprompter, without a script. So nobody is pretending, nobody is fake. We look at a lot of the other YouTubers, they can't speak to you live without a script. Everything is scripted. You get them in a room, and I've seen some that have been invited to shows, they can't even have a conversation without the script because that it makes them sound intelligent, it makes them sound smart. And I noticed that a lot, what's going on with them. And if you are someone that's willing to trash your own community, you get everybody. Everybody is going to subscribe for your channel.
Did you talk about Snap?
No.
No, because someone's getting in their feelings and said 88% are receptive Snap people that get it already work. The rest are single mothers and disabled. But they were calling us names. That's why I said, did you talk about Snap?
You know what? It's amazing how people. Good morning. Hey, how you doing? Thanks for joining us, Endor. Yeah, it's amazing that people sometimes can't have a conversation for being sensitive and emotional. And you'd be surprised how old some of the people are on here. When you have to reduce yourself to try to stand on someone's shoulders to put people down because you can't make your point.
Around the table,
That says a
because
lot
you're a
about
great team. It's been a tremendous period of time for our country, and things are going very well. Number of jobs, we have more people working today than we've ever had before in the history of our country. And many other things, and I have a few words to say to you that I think will be helpful. Last night was incredible, not only Texas, but so many other places. The numbers were fantastic, and they've really been that way for a year. If you look, hundreds of people won, and almost nobody didn't win. So, but last night was very powerful. So I'm thrilled to welcome everyone to the 12th cabinet meeting of our administration, and we're doing something that no administration's ever done. We're always letting the press join us because we're very open and transparent. We like the word transparent, but we're more transparent than any administration in history. No, to the best of my knowledge, press has never been invited ever to a cabinet meeting for any reason
that's true.
at all. And it's an honor to have you. This team has achieved more than most other administrations achieve in 8 years. We took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border in the world. Anywhere in the world, there's no border like the border we had. And created the most secure border in the history of our country. We had no people, 12 months now, no people reported in the last 12 months came in illegally. 0 illegal aliens admitted to the United States in the last 12 months. And those charts are made by, you would say, politically unfriendly people. And the reason they don't come in is because nobody comes up because they know that they're going to be turned away. And if they get in, they're going to be moved out right away. So it's been 0. You're the one that do the reports. I'm actually surprised by the number because I don't know how it can be 0, but they say it's 0 for the last 12 months. In 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded. So the murder rate was quite high, and we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded to the lowest level in 125 years. That's the year 1900. And that's despite the fact that many people came in from prisons and from very rough countries and from mental institutions and from lots of other places, drug dealers, others. They came in illegally during the Biden administration. We've gotten many of them out, but we still have some that we're looking for, quite a few that we're still looking for, but we've gotten over 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. We've gotten some, we put them in jail. We don't even trust the country to send them because they'll come back in maybe, and we put them in jail. 11,888 murders, more than half of which have committed more than one murder. That's what they allowed in. They can never be forgotten for the horrible things they've done to this country. Fentanyl coming across our border is now down by 61%. 61%. And coming in by water, by sea, by ocean is down 97%. Can you imagine? Thanks to our Republican majorities in Congress, we passed the largest tax cuts in American history. All Democrats voted against the tax cuts, putting more money in Americans' pockets. This year, the typical family got tax refunds of nearly, almost close to $5,000. The stock market has set 68 all-time record highs since the election. So 68 days, we hit all-time highs. We're right there now. And the average 401k, and that's despite the conflict. I don't call it a war, I call it a conflict. Despite the conflict with Venezuela, who no longer has a navy, no longer has an air force, no longer has a lot of people took office. So the Americans are benefiting working today. We have the most working, and we have 401ks at their all-time high, highest they've ever been. And that goes along with the stock market, which is the highest it's ever been. Under my most favored nation agreements, this is something that I wish the media would talk about, because to me, it's one of the biggest things ever to happen in our country. Certainly as to medical, anything having to do with medical, because record-setting discounts on prescription drugs with price differences of 400, 500, and even 600% at the TrumpRx.gov. We recently added nearly 1,000 low-cost generics to the website. So we have drugs down 400, 500, 600%. Now you could say 80, 90, 70, 60, 50% if you want. There are two ways. It depends on the way you ask the question. But a pill that would sell in Germany or in, let's say, in London for $10, we're selling for here for $130. And I got the countries to all agree, otherwise they would have had to pay big tariffs. I don't want to go into it, but I had some very interesting discussions. They said vehemently no, and then when I said, that's all right, we're gonna charge you 50% tariff on everything you sell into America, they said, well, like we said, we'll say yes. And every single country agreed, and every drug company agreed. So we have most favored nation. So we were paying the highest drug prices in the world. Now we're paying the lowest drug prices in the world. So that pill that I talked about would go from $10 to $20. The world is bigger than the US. Hard to believe, but it's true. So it's not like you cut it in the middle. They just had to go up a little bit, but a little bit is a doubling of the price. So a little bit's a lot. So the pill would go from $10 to $20. And we'd go from $130 to $20. Think of that. So we would get, if you remember, some of you were at the news conference I had my first term where I got the prices down 1/8 of a percent, 1/4, 1/8 of a percent my first term. And I was so proud of it because drug prices hadn't come down in 28 years, and I was the first one to do it. But now I'm getting them down, not 1/8 of a percent, I'm getting them down 400, 500, 600. Or if you want to use it a different way, you could say 70%, 80%, 90%, 50%. Nobody's ever said anything like it. And I got that through, well, everybody knew it was taking place, but we paid the highest prices anywhere in the world. Now we're paying the lowest prices anywhere in the world. And the press refuses to write about it. I think it's the biggest thing for healthcare. So much of it is prescription drug prices. And with them coming down, the healthcare is going to come down very substantially. We recently added nearly 1,000 low-cost generics too, as I said, and that's 1,000 drugs, and it's all on. And this was not given by me. This was given by Dr. Oz and Bobby, and I, wasn't sure whether or not I loved the idea, but they said we want to use Trump. TrumpRx.gov is what it is, and it's the hottest site, I think, anywhere on the planet, from what I understand, Bobby, right? It's really great. People are calling up and they're buying drugs for literally a fraction of the price. And it should be the biggest story. And on that alone, we should win the midterms. On that alone, we should win the midterms. But the press doesn't talk about it. It's the biggest thing to happen in the drug industry ever, maybe. Ever. And the press doesn't even want to write stories about it. We made the largest ever investment in U.S. military, $1 trillion, and we're asking actually for $1.5 trillion for the coming year. And we have the strongest military anywhere in the world, as you know. You saw what we did with Venezuela. That worked out very quickly, and we're doing really equally as well with, but again, people don't want to write about it, with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. But the Navy is gone, as I've said 1,000 times. The Navy is gone. The Air Force is gone. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. Right now, I mean, you can speak to Steve Woodcock and Jared. They're doing a good job. But right now, I think it looks like they want to just make a deal. They want to. They have, I don't think they have a choice. They're just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. The money has no value, and their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. You know, we'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms. People understand it. They know that. Very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm doing that for the world. I'm not doing it just for us. And we've had great support from other nations, by the way. We don't need it at all, but we've had great support from other nations. The problem is you always get the support when you don't need it. When you need it, you don't get the support. With Operation Epic Fear, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror never obtains a nuclear weapon, and they won't. Under the leadership of Vice President J.D. Vance, very proud of this, the White House Task Force to eliminate fraud is waging war on waste, fraud, theft, and abuse like nobody's ever seen before. He looks like Elliot Ness. You ever see Elliot Ness? I'm telling you, the guys that are up there are all central casting and standing there. What a group of people. No, it looks like a movie. I'm gonna make a movie out of it. And they're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I just said, that's good. He said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, if he does really great, we'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves. And I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. We're just talking about one person. He got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. Now we're putting the clamps on, but boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women too. But I was watching that last night. I said, I'm proud of you guys. In 2 months, we've exposed tens of billions of dollars of defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. What do you see? I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen, and no other administration would do what we're doing. They let it go. Everybody was getting rich, and I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it. Like just the numbers of fraudulent people on Social Security, people that are 115 years old, 125 years old, getting payments. It's funny, I said, oh, do those payments get turned back? No, they accept it. Well, somebody's getting the payment. It's not a person that's 125 years old. But that's the least of it. The numbers that we're finding out, we have great people at Social Security. We're gonna make our Social Security so strong, so good that you've never seen anything like it. We're gonna protect, I said right from the beginning, we're gonna protect our people on Social Security. If the Democrats ever got in, you wouldn't have, Social Security would be bankrupt. People wouldn't be getting anything. Last week, they took down 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota history, as well as the largest autism fraud case ever charged by the federal government. You saw that with millions of dollars just being stolen. Everybody had autism. Everybody had autism. They said it was incredible, actually. And I've just seen I see what they're doing. You haven't seen anything yet. So congratulations, JJ. Be vicious like they are. They're violent people. They're violent, vicious scum. Before asking Vice President Vance to speak about these efforts, I want to express our tremendous gratitude to our outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a terrific person, actually. Come up with some findings that were pretty good. And Tulsi's worked tirelessly to restore trust and focus on the intelligence and with the intelligence community. They all respected her. They listened to her. She gave us leads that were pretty much, people thought they were dead and they weren't dead. They were right there. And she was able to expose a lot of things that we used at the FBI with Cash and with Todd and with JD and everybody else. It was amazing. She dramatically reformed the Office of Director of National Intelligence, cutting the staff by 40%, and she prevented countless terrorists and cartel members from entering the United States. She exposed mountains of evidence related to the Russia hoax, probably the greatest hoax in the history of our country. Although, when you look at the fraud coming out, there's a lot of them. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them, but the Russia hoax, a great hoax, a very dangerous hoax, and revoked security clearances of officials involved, and she declassified numerous historic documents of special public interest, including related to the JFK and RFK assassinations, which everybody wanted to see. And we're now releasing a lot of things having to do with space. It's people are very interested in it. It actually became the number one topic. We're releasing a lot of information having to do with terrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally trending number one. Can you believe it? So a lot of people out there are like it, but we're releasing all of that information. And Tulsi, we're praying for you and for your husband. Her husband's not feeling great, but he's going to feel great soon. You're going to get him better. And he's a wonderful guy. So just say hello and thank you for the great work you've done. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to ask JD to say a few words about the war on fraud, followed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who's doing fantastically, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, another one. I mean, we have great people. And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Central Casting. He loves war. I don't like it. He's a good man, that one. And Scott Bessent, you talk about a guy doing a job. Been fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Really fantastic. And a lot of the success that we're having with other countries is what you've been able to do and find. And SBA Administrator Kelly Lawford, all of the people here have been great. We're going to just do those few, and maybe if you have some questions, we'll go to others. But everybody around here has got a lot to say. But we did that once and it lasted like 4 or 5 hours. It was a little much. We want to be open. So, now, if I do it this way, they'll say, he didn't let anybody talk. But let's start with JD, and you can talk about a really, really important thing, bringing our country back to honesty. A tremendous amount of money is involved. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you for your leadership, sir, for making it possible. I often find in the fraud task force that sometimes there are barriers that we need to break down, the agencies that need to coordinate, and I'll come to the president and say, Mr. President, I need your permission to do, say for the fraud task force, and he'll cut me off and say, yes, go do it. So the fact that we have dedicated presidential leadership is really what's made this possible, because it does require we've got great people around the table, but sometimes these agencies don't know how to work together at the lower level. And that's one of the things we've had to turn on and force with the fraud task force. So I want to shout out just a few all-stars here. Linda at the Department of Education has been amazing at finding student loan fraud. You've got people who are either illegal aliens or aren't even actually real human beings who are getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the Department of Education for student loans. We've cut that off. We found a lot. We're going to find a lot more. Scott at HUD has been amazing, because a lot of the fraud that we see is housing fraud, people claiming benefits that they're not entitled to, or again, sir, sometimes completely made up people who exist purely to collect fraudulent money from the American taxpayer. Brooke at the Department of Agriculture, something I had no idea until I started this work, sir, that we send hundreds of billions of dollars to the states to administer the food stamp program. The federal government has no insight into whether those food stamps are going to people who are legally entitled or whether those people actually even exist. And so we're working on a number of mechanisms to actually force the states to verify that the people who receive these benefits are actually entitled to them. And I can go down the list. I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of people in this room. Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz have been particular all-stars on this, and Kim at H&HS. What they've done with the Medicaid fraud, we found tens of billions of dollars in Medicaid and Medicare fraud just from their hard work. We've cut that off. The final thing I want to say, Mr. President, and I know that Todd maybe has something to say about this as well, but I always try to remind the American people, and certainly remind the cabinet officials. By the way, Kelly at SBA has found tens of billions of dollars that were from fraudulent loans that were giving under the Biden administration, and we've now cut that off and recovered a lot of that money. So this has been a whole of government effort, Mr. President. The team really deserves a great deal of credit here. But the final point I want to make, sir, is I always try to remind the American people that fraud is fundamentally a crime with two victims. The most obvious victim are the American taxpayer. They pay their taxes, they expect the money to go where it should go, and that's not happening because of the fraudsters. But there are also victims, people who benefit from these programs that don't exist if we're not actually taking care of the fraud issue. And let me just give one example to build on something you said earlier, sir. One of the people that Todd just prosecuted was a person who was collecting a lot of money from the American taxpayer to take care of elderly citizens, people who worked their entire lives, paid their taxes, should have had dignity and nobility in old age, but it was deprived from them from fraudsters who say that they're taking care of them, who collect a check to take care of them, but then abuse and neglect these people. And particularly one man who died because he wasn't getting adequate care, and that guy was still collecting benefits to take care of a person who he had completely neglected. So not only do you have an American taxpayer who's paying into these programs, you have an elderly citizen deprived of his dignity because we're not going after the fraudsters. Well, now we are.
How much money did he get?
Sir, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more than that, but we think that that exact type of fraud has been replayed all over our country. That particular case was outside of Minneapolis. We expect that there are tens of thousands of people who are collecting fraudulent money to take care of people, and they're not actually taking care of them. We're, of course, going to get to the root of as much of it as we can. But again, sir, it's been, I wouldn't say fun, because you find out how much people have been taken advantage of, but it's certainly very good and valuable work. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Attorney General, please.
I'll just continue to talk about what the Vice President was just talking about. The way that we are actually, it's one thing to uncover fraud, which we've done, and that's part of it, but it's also prosecuting the bad guys that are doing it and stopping it from continuing. And that's where you have, everybody in this room has inspector generals. And for many years, these really hardworking law enforcement members would identify fraud, and nobody did anything about it. DOJ prosecuted it, but spent very little resources on that. So what we've done just in the past 51 days, over 400 law enforcement actions in this country related to major fraud. That's search warrants, that's arrests, that's convictions, that's indictments that are filed, and that's just 51 days. And it's not just the great prosecutors. It's the FBI agents, it's DHS and HSI agents. It's everybody in this room that has inspector generals that are now they have been freed up. And it's because of you. It's because of the Vice President saying this is going to be a priority of what we are going to do. Not just the Department of Justice, even though we're the prosecutors that are putting bad guys in jail. It's also the law enforcement. And every agency, FBI and DHS. And so we're already seeing results. We had a $1 billion fraud, a conviction at trial last week out of Florida. And this was an organization that was stealing from senior citizens in Florida, duping them. There were call centers set up in the Philippines, and they were duping them to buy medical equipment that they didn't need, that they would never get, and that the taxpayers paid for. And so that's a good win. We arrested 15 guys in Minnesota last week. The Vice President mentioned one of them. These are people that are not, they're just stealing. And many of them are here illegally. And so you have people who are in this country illegally, who are then taking advantage. And the Vice President says something a lot that resonates with me. The generosity of the American people, the generosity of everybody in this room, the leadership, to take care of the people in this country that deserve it the most. Children who are supposed to get food at school, and you have men just stealing, taking that money, and so that's what we're focused on. And we are standing up, as you know, Mr. President, you allowed us to set up a new division of the Department of Justice. It's our entire existence of that division is to combat what we're talking about. And then every US attorney's office is now focused on it as well. So this is something that will result in a better place for every citizen in this country and save money, a lot of money. And also it's the right thing to do for our tax dollars, Mr. President.
And billions of dollars was given out just very quickly, before Biden left office. Billions and billions were given out. And I mean, I know of many cases, but one, I don't know what's happened with it, but I think you're looking at it. I know Lee was involved in it environmentally. Stacey Abrams was given $2 billion for an account that had $103 in it, an environmental fraud, I guess. And she had $103 in this newly opened account. And before leaving business, they put $2 billion into the account. And they had no reason for existence. They were unable to say what they did with it. $2 billion. Lee, you want to just mention something about that?
Well, thanks to your leadership, Mr. President, that was canceled. And they no longer have access to that $2 billion.
What do I get? They wanted that money.
In fact, it was over $29 billion it's now been canceled at EPA. You told us to make it a priority. This happened as soon as you came in. After the election, before your inauguration, they were caught on video saying that they were rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before you're swearing in, because they were afraid that once you were sworn in, you were going to stop it. Well, that part they were right.
Yeah, we did.
And we're happy to do it, Mr. President. The Department of Justice under Todd Blanche's leadership, they just secured another big win in appeals court on some recently canceled grants for different agencies. So great attorneys making sure that this accountability is delivered over the finish line. It's been a great team effort.
And we're building more, most importantly, we're building more factories and plants in the United States now than at any time ever before. $18 trillion coming in. That's not including the 12th month, that's 11th. And I say it often that the Biden administration had much less than 1 trillion, and we have 18 trillion. And when those final numbers come up, they'll be even higher than that. That's a record in the history of the world. No country's ever done that. And that money's going into plants, and you are giving them very fast approvals, thorough and environmentally correct, but fast approvals. You're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Another man doing a fantastic job, I think we all agree, is Marco. You're all over the place, right? I watched you last night at 3 different locations. So tell us about Iran.
Well, first of all, the bottom line is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. And if recent events have done anything, is just remind us once again that they are the world's leading sponsor of terrorism. And they can never have a nuclear weapon. Now, the president's preference, Mr. President, your preference is told us repeatedly, is always to negotiate these things and to figure out if you can have agreements. Diplomacy is always the first option. And we continue to work on that through your envoys, Mr. Witkoff and Kushner and others, the vice president, who've been very involved. And if there's an agreement to be made, we want that to be made. I think there's been some progress and some interest. And we'll see over the next few hours and days whether progress can be made. I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, you know this well, you have other options available to you if that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated diplomatic route, and we're going to give it every chance to succeed. I know you're giving it every chance to succeed, Mr. President. But here's the bottom line, because I keep getting asked, what is this all about? It's very simple. Iran and these people in charge of Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and they will never have a nuclear weapon, and they most certainly will not have one as long as you're president of the United States. On that point, it's very clear. Just 2 quick things I want to touch upon. One, you touched upon the border and security. Part of securing our border is dealing with people that are in this country unlawfully, many of whom do not want to go back to the country that they originally came from for a variety of reasons. Either we can't send them there, or some judge ties us up. And one of the key things we have achieved is now 20 countries have signed third country national agreements, meaning these are safe countries where individuals who refuse to go back to their country of origin can be sent to that country instead. We've got 20 countries now around the world who have signed agreements that allow us to deport people to those places. What often happens when you go to the person who's here unlawfully and say, we're going to send you to this third country, is all of a sudden they decide they'd rather go back to their home country instead. So it gives the ability to enforce our laws, and we work very closely with the Department of Homeland Security on that front. Something else that I know is concerning people, because it's on the news, is Ebola. Our number one obligation, we're involved in foreign policy, but even our foreign policy, the number one priority of our foreign policy is to protect the American people. We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States. And so the State Department and other agencies represented here, the Centers for Disease Control, HHS, others are working very, very hard to contain this crisis to the countries where it's currently located, particularly the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so we surged assistance to make sure that is being contained there. And obviously, multiple agencies involved here are also very involved in tracking people, just to make sure that nobody comes into this country that has Ebola and creates a problem for us. And we feel like we've got good efforts in place to do that. And Americans should feel assured that the president and his administration is doing everything we can to protect them on that front. My last point, said I was all over the place. One of the places I stopped in last night was to initial the Trump Route for Prosperity in Armenia. This is a key linchpin of the peace deal that you were able to achieve between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And in addition to that, we also signed a critical minerals MOU with them and a strategic engagement one as well. So just a reminder of another war you helped settle, Mr. President. But from that now we are seeing the emergence of a great new relationship with Armenia that really had grown stagnant for a very long period of time. So we're doing well on that front as well. Thank you.
Then could I just ask you, Cuba and Venezuela, what's going on there?
Well, interesting. Venezuela, that process continues, that three-phase process, of obviously stabilization, recovery, and transition. I would just say, just since January 3rd of this year, okay, and I think this number's right, Chris or Doug can correct me on this, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG. And it's for the first time ever, the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Cuba's in a lot of trouble because, unfortunately for them, it's run by a bunch of incompetent communists. Being communist is bad. Being an incompetent communist is like the worst. And but the country's been taken over by this company called Gaesa that basically controls 70% of the economy. None of the money in that company goes to help the Cuban people. None of it. So we'll be talking to them. We'll be working on it. We want something good for the Cuban people, and hopefully there'll be a good outcome there for them. There needs to be. It's 90 miles from our shores, and having a failed state 90 miles from our shores is a threat to the national security of the United States.
So we're producing right now more oil by double than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. There's never been anything like that. We don't need oil, we don't need the Strait, we don't need anything, but we have more oil now being produced by 2 times than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. A great state. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I would, President Trump, under your leadership, we've opened up lease sales on public land. This is land that was put away for the benefit and the use of the American people, like the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. The Biden administration had illegally stopped holding lease sales during their administration. President Trump famously said, drill, baby, drill, but before you can drill, you've got to open public lands. Between the lease sales that have happened in the Permian, in the Bakken, and on the North Slope, just since January of this year, it's over $4 billion of revenues coming into the Treasury. That's 13 times more than the Biden administration brought in on lease sales in the entire 4 years they were in office. Sir, your policies brought that in 5 months. So with that, a lot of excitement, a lot of activity. We also inherited just in one district in Carlsbad, New Mexico, 5,600 unprocessed applications to drill for oil and gas on public land. And when we're drilling on public land, those companies pay a royalty. And that money comes to all of our citizens, and it goes to local school districts, and it goes to states. It is the core of the economy in parts of our country. The team down there working for the Department of Interior Bureau of Land Management has dropped that by 91%. It's one of the reasons why they have record lease sales, because now people go, I can bid on federal land and I'm going to get a permit to drill, and it's not going to take me 5 years to get it. I'm going to get it in a month or less. And so it's exciting to see your vision. And of course, with this energy dominance, us, as you just noted, largest oil producer in the world, largest natural gas producer in the world, largest natural gas exporter. This is an opportunity for us to bring prosperity and affordability here at home, but also bring peace abroad. So, President Trump, your energy dominance strategy with Chris Wright, Lee Zeldin, all the people that are working on this, people around the room, it's been really incredible. And of course, you mentioned Venezuela, but all that flowing to our Gulf Coast refineries is also helping to keep the price of gas down at home. So again, it's an amazing transformation. Bottom line is the center of geopolitics around energy has moved from other parts of the world to the Western Hemisphere in the last 5 months. You turned Venezuela from a sanctioned adversary into a strategic ally in 45 minutes. Never happened in history before. And what's going on in Alaska? When I was there last week in Alaska, the North Slope, 80,000 barrels a day coming online at Pico. That wouldn't have happened with you. It's up by Willow on the North Slope. That's going into the Alaska pipeline. 20% increase just off that one field. So amazing work. Energy is a high-tech industry, and those guys are crushing it, and they're loving the fact that they can provide affordable, reliable, secure energy for America.
And we're working very hard in California. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but California has tremendous oil reserves. It used to be number 3 in the nation, and the radical left has just wiped it out. And we're working very hard to get that open again and get it so the people, their gasoline prices, their lack of energy is just staggering. It's staggering. And we're actually making very good progress. Even people that were against that at one point, now they're saying, wow, that'd be great. But people don't realize it was one of the, right, Chris, it was one of the top drilling states, one of the, and I would say in terms of reserves, as among the top in the country. Nobody thinks of that with California. Everything was just closed down, really violently closed down. And we're opening up some of it, and we're being met with actually great spirit because they're paying so much for gasoline that they don't have to be doing that. And they have a very incompetent group of leaders, like grossly incompetent. So I think that's going to be something. On a slightly smaller subject, while Doug was speaking, Department of Interior, he and his people have done a fantastic job on DC. DC is looking beautiful. The fountains are almost all open. We had 28 of them. And we have one in particular, a very long lake, we call it, a reflecting lake between the Lincoln Monument. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You take a look at between Lincoln and Washington, you have the longest, like 2,400 feet long. That's longer than the tallest building in the world if you set it on the side. And it's almost 200 feet wide. And actually, it was built in 1922. And from 1922 on, it really never worked. It always leaked and it was a problem, a lot of things. And hundreds of millions was spent. The Biden administration and the Obama administration spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get it to work, and they failed. And we'll be spending, you'll give me a number, but I think it's very low numbers, like in the number that we originally talked about, where we cleaned it, we fumigated it, and we had 10 major truck dumpsters of garbage taken out. Can you believe it? A friend of mine came in, very substantial person from Germany, wanted to see the Washington Monument, wanted to see the Lincoln Memorial. He said, I look, but that horrible reflecting pond is disgusting. It's filthy, dirty, and disgusting. I said, really? I drove down. I said, Secret Service, let's take a drive. And we went down. I said, that's terrible. And for the most part, it didn't work. I mean, they wouldn't even have water in there. But when they did, it was just dirty, filthy water that leaked out. And we got to work on it. And it was supposed to cost almost think of it, $400 million, because it's like putting the skin on a skyscraper, but bigger, much bigger. Many skyscrapers, you could almost say, other than for the world's tallest. Think of it, the world's tallest skyscraper is shorter than 2,400 feet. So we went to work, and over the years I built hundreds of pools. I build them every time I built a building. I always like to build Olympic-sized swimming pools, and I was very aware of swimming pool, what goes into making a swimming pool. It's not as simple as people think. You never want it to leak. You want to have beautiful surface. And I said, I have an idea, Doug. We sat down. I said, let's take that long thing where we're going to fix it with concrete, which leaks, concrete, all sorts of other materials that all leak and don't look good. They're gray. And, swimming pool, I have a swimming pool right up the road. I built it 22 years ago. It's perfect. I said, does it ever leak? No. It's perfect, good contractors. I actually called in a couple of the contractors, got some ideas from them. And I gave it to Doug, and Doug's done an unbelievable job, and, so they're gonna spend maybe $400 million. I don't know, you never know with cost overruns and everything, but it was gonna take years to build, 3 years, 4 years. And we'll have it done before July 4th, substantially before July 4th. If we didn't have such bad weather the last 4 or 5 days, we could have been almost done. You can't do the substance in the rain. And, what they did is they cleaned it. They took out, as I said, more than 10 dumpsters of garbage, shovels. It was disgusting. Oh, every corner had massive amounts of, I guess that's the way the tide goes. But had massive amounts of garbage. We then steam cleaned it. We then sandblasted it, and then we pebble blasted it. That's a bigger version of sand. We made the surface as good as it can be. And we're now covering it with the most beautiful blue, very thick. You think of it as a very sophisticated form of rubber. No leaks, no problems. And it's beautiful. It's called American Flag Blue. That was the color we chose. And we are probably 70% finished with it. It's going to be finished. The hard part's done. And then we decided to do much more than originally I thought I was just going to do the surface, but we said the problem is the outer ring looks pretty bad too, where you walk on. So we sandblasted that. This is all additional work. We didn't want to do, when you do something like this, when you do the one, you think the other looked okay, but then when the other, you see the new surface, the old stuff that looked okay looks really bad. So we cleaned that, sandblasted it, the walkways, all of it. It's a tremendous amount of area. It's thousands of feet long, very wide. This is where the people stand, not the water part, the dry part. And we had a combination of granite and stone. And we're pointing it, fixing it. The joints were terrible, everything. The whole place was a mess. And when it opens in a couple of weeks, long before July 4th, we want to have it for July 4th weekend, but it'll be long before that. You will see something that's really going to be beautiful. And now we're looking at the World War II fountain because that's also in pretty bad shape. On the bottom, we're going to duplicate it, I think, with maybe with a slightly different color. Actually, we'll go with a lighter color. But Doug and I had a lot of fun doing it. Your staff is fantastic. They really work well. But the concept, so think of it, instead of spending $200, $300, $400 million, and it will never work, we're going to spend like $10 million, maybe $12 million. Instead of spending 4 years, we're going to spend, like if you add it all up, like a couple of months. And instead of going through 4th of Julys as a horrible construction site, we're going to have it open before the 4th of July. And the difference is it's better. Somebody said, oh, well, but it's not the same. Some of the fake news will say, well, but it's not. No, it's like the pen story. The pen is better at $2 than it was at $2,000. This is the same thing. This is far better. Won't leak. It'll last for 50 years, maybe 100 years if they didn't even know. I said, how long will this last? Oh, I think you'll get 50 years out of it. We did the swimming pool treatment, but they said, sir, for a little more money, we could get industrial strength. I said, that sounds good to me. Same color, same everything, same stuff, but it's actually much stronger. It's used for industrial. I said, I love that. So we're going to have that open. It's going to be really, really beautiful. And it's a very important thing. We can't have people looking at the Washington Monument, going, the memorial. If you take a look, the Lincoln Memorial, it was built, I guess, a little after the Lincoln War. It's embarrassing. It was so horrible. I never saw anything like it. It was filthy dirty. It was Biden. And they spent, between the two of them, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fix this thing. Now, when Obama did it, he spent way over $100 million. And they had a great idea. Let's use the water from the Potomac. Because environmentally, they liked it. Somebody said that was good. But the water from the Potomac was not suitable for this, to put it mildly. It was disgusting what happened. And so they spent hundreds of millions, over $100 million, and they immediately closed it. It was closed for many months and nobody did anything. It was closed. It's basically been closed. But go back to 1922. It was always sort of, people think of it as beautiful, but it was always a mess. It's gonna be unbelievable. It will be unbelievable. It's actually exciting. I wanna ride over there today if I can. You know, I always have a problem. Secret Service is in love with my walking along, checking the sidewalk, the new sidewalk, to see whether or not they pointed it correctly. But they do. We have great contractors doing the job, but we'll spend a very tiny amount of money, and it'll be better than it ever was when it was built in 1922. It's very exciting, actually. To me, I love construction. It's very exciting. And we do many things. We did 28 or 29 fountains. I made a contribution to redoing Lafayette Park. That's the entrance to the White House. And it was an embarrassment. The floors were broken. They had bricks. Some of the bricks were missing. You know where they're missing? They took them out to throw at people. We're going with them. It's going to be a world-class park. It'll be open pretty soon. They're doing a lot of work over there. That was a contribution that I made with some other people. And it's going to be really beautiful. That was really the front door to the White House, but you couldn't even use it. It was so terrible. People would come to the White House, and it was so terrible. So with that, I'm going to ask Pete to talk a little about some of our great success.
Yes, sir.
Including Venezuela, you might add.
Absolutely, sir. I think actually your efforts on the reflecting pool are actually a great segue. If you look at Washington and Lincoln, these are two men that faced monumental tasks and stood up in historic fashion and delivered for the American people. And when you step back and look at 47 years of what Iran waged war against us and our people, there's only one man over the course of both presidency who has stood up and said they will never get a nuclear weapon, as Marcos said. So whether it was Qasem Soleimani, whether it was scrapping the Obama deal that was going to give them a weapon, whether it was the 12-day war or Operation Midnight Hammer, you created the conditions to ensure the American people and the world are safeguarded from this generational threat. And so when you authorized Operation Epic Fury, just like you talked about with the reflecting pool, we didn't do the same old thing the way we've done in the past after Iraq and Afghanistan, the way we waged wars. Instead, you said, we're going to do this smart. We're going to do it overwhelming. We're going to use maximum lethality, and we're going to bring them to their knees. And so whether it's their Navy that's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, their Air Force, their air defenses, or their defense industrial base, they may have missiles, but they can't build more right now. And they can't build more drones right now. And they can't build more ships. And so they came and cried uncle to talk, which Steve and Jared and the vice president and others are doing so ably. And during that time, we put in a world-class blockade, and they haven't been able to bring anything in or anything out from Iranian ports. And we know from the intel that their economy is hurting big time because that is their lifeblood. And again, bringing them to the table. So whether it is through the efforts of your negotiators that they ensure that they never have a nuclear weapon, or we have to go back to the War Department to finish the job that way. We're prepared to do that. And I think even our reach on the dark fleet of Iranian tankers, no Iranian tanker around the globe is safe. We've seen seizures all around the globe, again, choking off their economic lifeblood. But all of this is possible, Mr. President, thanks to the investments that you've made in this department, firing on all cylinders. For the second year in a row, we're at historic recruitment rates. Last year, we said that here. This year, we beat it even faster. The American people are excited about what you're bringing to our department. Our defense industrial base, $50 billion in private investments. Because of the meetings you've held, defense manufacturers are investing in new plants and new manufacturing, new production lines, so that we're getting weapons faster than ever. And then the $1.5 trillion that you've committed to the department going forward, that's 1 million American jobs, 1 million American manufacturing jobs. That's Golden Dome for America. That's F-47. That's B-21. That's 50 billion in drones. We're going to beat the world in drones, shaving years off of production of all of those, everything under budget and ahead of schedule, which is what the warfighter deserves. And you saw it. You mentioned Venezuela, Mr. President. You saw it on display there. Think of the fact that our Southcom commander just landed via helicopter at our embassy peacefully at the welcome of the Venezuelans. Because we're now partnering with them, hopefully, even on the counter-cartel mission as we secure our hemisphere. So we've secured that southwest border. We're going to war with the cartels through the America's Counter-Cartel Coalition. Venezuela is a big part of securing our energy future and defending the homeland. And then I just want to note one more thing to give you a sense of how committed this president is. Maybe a year ago, he heard the call of Nigerian Christians who were being targeted and killed by ISIS in Nigeria. And he said, Pete, I want the War Department to focus on ensuring that we do everything we can to protect those Christians. Partnerships like that can take time behind the scenes, but he never wavered on it. And we got the assets there. And over the last month, and there hasn't been much coverage of this, we killed ISIS #2 in Nigeria, who's most responsible for killing Christians and trying to target the U.S. homeland, and have since, because of the intel we gathered, killed hundreds of ISIS members who were targeting and killing Christians in Nigeria, creating a whole new opportunity there. So there's a lot of things we do that the media pays attention to, and a lot of things that the president empowers the department to do on behalf of the American people that he deserves great credit for.
Thank you. Great job. Great job. I just want to say on recruitment, we're very proud of the fact that for the previous 4 years, previous administration, they couldn't recruit people. And that included, by the way, police and firemen and others. They were not proud of our country. And they couldn't recruit anybody with a uniform and was having a hard time recruiting. And they set record low numbers. They were way, way behind. And literally from November 5th, it started. It started even before we got going. But from the time we won the election to now, we've had numbers of recruitment, the likes of which we've never had. Record recruitment in every single branch, and that includes police and firemen. Record recruitment, so we're very proud of that. Thank you, great job. Kelly, please.
Mr. President, you have made us a nation of bones, and you're leading us to the greatest economy that the world has ever known. And I see that every week as I travel this country, main streets across dozens of states, from Alaska to Maine. I've been in many of those states 2 or 3 times. I hear it everywhere I go. Please thank the president for putting us back on track. They thank you. They love you. They want more of what we're doing: tax cuts, deregulation, fair trade, energy dominance. Small businesses are spring-loaded, and we see that in the jobs numbers. In the last 2 months alone, we've created over 300,000 private sector jobs in this country. Most jobs are created by small businesses, 2 out of 3. And small businesses, as you know, make up 99% of all businesses in this country and account for half of our GDP. So when that part of the economy is finally working again, they've gotten out from $5 trillion of regulation that the Biden administration put on hardworking small businesses. They penalized growth, investment, hard work, and success. But thanks to the working family tax cuts that every single Democrat voted against, hardworking families, the welders, the waitresses that I meet on factory floors across this country, from Pennsylvania to New Mexico, where I'll be tomorrow, Corp and I are going to Arizona tonight. So we see this everywhere we go. It's one of the most underreported stories in the media. Main Street is back, and that's because America first. I'll tell you the other thing about fraud. Small businesses are particularly hurt by the fraud because they're some of our biggest taxpayers in the country. And they show up every day. They work hard to provide for their employees, to build their businesses. They're doing it the honest way. And they see fraudsters taking from the American people. It's taxpayer money. And so you think about, at the SBA, we found $200 billion in fraudulent PPP loans that the Biden administration tried to hide and forgive and sweep under the rug. We've turned the first $22 billion of that over to Treasury for collections and to DOJ for prosecution. Our Inspector General is already announcing that people are going to jail. There are jail sentences now being served. We've announced that 140,000 people have been barred from ever getting SBA loans again, defrauding the government for about $9 billion. So we are going to continue our work under the great leadership of Vice President Vance, and appreciate the partnership because it's really accelerated our ability to get the job done. But then just back to small businesses, we have record business formation in this country. That's another story that the media won't tell you. Over 500,000 businesses on average a month this year. So it's not just record people working, strong job creation, business formation at all-time records in this country. But we have manufacturing expansion, 4 consecutive months. That means that's a leading indicator, meaning that we have expansion coming. Another story the media won't tell you, 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. 75% of our defense industrial base is small business. They're our main exporters. And so America first, free trade, fair trade, deregulation, tax cuts, and energy dominance is helping workers on Main Street, and that's why they tell you to tell me to tell you, Mr. President, thank you, and they love you.
Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. And I just say, we went to China last week. We had an amazing meeting with President Xi. The relationship's very good. We're doing a lot of business with China now, but it's not where they were ripping us off for years and years. They ripped us off like nobody ever got ripped off. Now it's a very profitable business that we do with China. And they respect our country again. We have the strongest military in the world by far. They respect our country again. Scott, please.
Sir, on the economy, 2 words, resilience and prosperity. The continued resilience of the economy speaks for itself, even during the Iran conflict, and it speaks to the strength of your leadership. Pro-growth policies are creating conditions for American families and businesses to prosper. We're entering the second half of our 250th anniversary year with renewed optimism and momentum. It has never been a better time to be an American, and as you said earlier, we have a record number of Americans working. The economy that you are building is not only strong, but secure and resilient and better positioned to compete globally. Real GDP has risen 2.7% over the past 4 quarters, something that many economists said couldn't be done. In the first quarter of 2026, despite the Iran conflict, GDP grew at a 2% annual rate. The Atlanta Fed GDP now is predicting 4.3% for this quarter. In terms of prices, I believe the prices are transitory. Oil will be lower than pre-conflict levels when this ends. Natural gas is already down, as you mentioned. Drug and pharmaceutical prices, they are plummeting, and rent is down. We are more resilient to energy price fluctuations due to your energy dominance agenda, to regulatory efforts, and we have never sold so much energy to the rest of the world. Business investment rose at a 10.4% annual rate the first quarter. Capital expenditures and business equipment rose more than 17%. And that is as a result of the tax bill and tariffs. Jobs related to commercial construction, factory construction are up 90,000 since your inauguration. In the past 2 months, the private sector, as Kelly said, has added 313,000 new jobs. And those are private sector jobs, sir, including 13,000 manufacturing jobs. We have construction jobs. We're building the factories, and those will turn into manufacturing jobs. The stock market has hit new highs. The stock market lives in the future. It is seeing on the other side of this conflict. It is a strong symbol of optimism for the future. Corporate earnings are high, and wages are doing well. For the tax season, we had the best tax filing season in history, which is a victory for Main Street. The average refund was nearly $3,300, 11% increase from last tax filing season. And importantly, 62 million returns had one of your 4 signature policies: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They reduced taxes. 85% of our seniors paid no taxes on Social Security, and the deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. For what I believe is the most important government benefit for young people since the GI Bill, the Trump accounts. The app will be available on all major platforms tomorrow morning, and it will place the American dreams into the palms of the hands of parents and children. Nearly 6 million kids have been signed up for Trump accounts, and they will launch on July 4th, and it will be a great symbol of the 250th anniversary. Main Street prosperity, workers have seen positive wage gains. The unemployment rate remains low at 4.3%, and private sector job growth is strong. So just to reiterate, resilience and prosperity have been the marks of your second term.
It's been great. It's been amazing, actually. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was out there to East Australia with get about times. There's been a lot of PwC and violent crimes here, and as a lot of Americans and people from all around the world are coming to the nation's capital ahead of the major 250th birthday events here, how important is it for you to really keep delivering on these results, but also what does it mean for America's identity on the national and international stage?
So very proud of DC because when we came here, a little more than a year ago, it was a very dangerous place, and now it's a very safe place. It's been incredible what's happened as you see the crime numbers. We had restaurants closing up and nobody wanted to go to a restaurant. They were afraid to walk to work. It was very dangerous place, very unsafe. And now it's a very safe place. We brought in the National Guard. We worked with Cash and the FBI, and Janine is doing fantastically, and Todd, everybody. And it's now a very safe city, and people are pouring in, and you see the grass is all beautiful. We put a lot of new grass in because, like people, grass has a life too. And this grass, and it was about a long time. But the waterfalls we talked about and the fountains, the most of them are in the final stages or fixed. People are writing me letters. People are talking about it. We have some of the most beautiful fountains in the world. And there wasn't one, not one, that worked. We had 29. Out of the 29, not one was worked, in addition to the reflecting pool, which is even, that was the big one of them all, but that was a disaster. So with all of that, and this place is looking beautiful. I rode through it yesterday. The fences are down. The homeless aren't staying here any longer. We're helping them out, but we're not, we just can't have them in the nation's capital. And when foreign dignitaries come in, they're saying the first thing they say to me, this place has really changed. They saw that it was going down. Our whole country was going down, just like DC was going down. And as you know, the restaurants were closing up. There weren't very many restaurants, and now they're opening up. You can't get a space. And everyone's going out to dinner and they're safe. And we have the national security and we have the National Guard, and we're going to keep them. I want to, by the way, just in case I mentioned, keep them. And don't lower the number either. Somebody said, oh, are there less? I said, I hope not, but don't lower the number if you don't mind, okay?
We're gonna start this summer too.
They look great. You know what, they give people, we took out 5,000 criminals, hardcore criminals. By the way, 90% of the crime is calculated. They count 2% of the people do 90% of the crime. That's a great number. Because when you get rid of 2%, 2% you can get rid of, 90% you can't get rid of 2%. So 2% create 90% of the crime, 91% actually to be exact. And we moved 5,000 people out of here. These are career criminals. Many of them came over from the last administration through the open border, the ridiculous open border, no vetting, nobody knew who they were. They came out of prisons, they're drug dealers, they were people from mental institutions. And Washington, D.C. is now a safe and beautiful place. And it's only going to get more beautiful. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much for having us here today. What are your thoughts? Why do you think that Joe Biden is trying to sue this Department of Justice, former President Joe Biden, to have his tapes that he did interviews on blocked from the American people hearing them? Do you think that he's trying to hide something? Maybe acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could comment on if they will countersue and release those tapes to the American public?
Are you talking about it with respect to his book? Well, I'd like to see it. I don't know. Maybe there's some constitutional reason. I don't know. I would like to see what he has to say, because we can never allow what happened to this country to happen. The man was grossly incompetent, and the Democrats, I call them the Democrats because the policy is so bad, but they came very close to destroying our country. We can never let it happen again, and I hope that you're able to produce that. I think it would be very interesting reading for people.
Mr. President, Iran wants control of the Strait of Hormuz. Would you accept a short-term deal that allows Iran to control the Strait? And would they have to open it immediately, or would you be open to that happening over a period of time?
No, the strait's gonna be open to everybody.
And who would control it?
It's international waters. Nobody's gonna control it. We're gonna watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's gonna control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's gonna control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, and we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
How many Mr. President, thank you, how much economic pressure do you feel to get the Strait of Hormuz open?
Well, you have to say, the United States has so much oil that we are an exporter of oil. So we have plenty of oil. We're very lucky. We're blessed with the greatest piece of land in the world from that standpoint. And we have more than anybody else. And now when you add Venezuela to it, we have, I think, 64% of the world's oil. And we're getting along very well with Venezuela, by the way. It's being run really beautifully. The big companies are moving in. It's going to be amazing, because it's also like us. They're very blessed in that sense. But we have natural energy that no other country has. We're more than anybody else. So it's really a world problem because most of the world doesn't have that. And we're making it available. During the closing, I don't know if you've seen some of the satellite pictures, boats, hundreds of boats lined up. It looks like, I used to say the Long Island Expressway with cars. They're lined up and they're coming to Texas, Louisiana, they're coming to Alaska to fill up their boat, their big boat. Some of them are really big, 2 billion gallons, even bigger than that now they make them. They make them up to 4, Chris, I hear. Now they make them up to 4. The 4 are now the big ones. Used to be the ones. Now it's 4 million barrels of, think of that, 4 million barrels of oil in one boat. But they're lined up and they're right now heading to Texas and they've already filled up and they've gone back. In addition to that, you have a lot of boats, you have about 1,500 boats in the strait wanting to get out, and at the right time we'll release them.
But the American people are seeing higher gas prices.
Yeah, they are.
It's come down a little bit, but it's still $4.
No, it's come down. Oh, it'll come down a lot. It'll come down to where it was before. We had it, when I was in Iowa, we had, driving by and we saw gas stations, $1.90 a gallon, $1.85, $1.87 were the three that we saw. We had it down in some places below, and we can't help in California where they charge so much tax that, you lower it and they charge tax. They've got to straighten the act out in California, but we had a gasoline down to a very low number. I think we'll be hitting that number shortly after that whole excursion ends. But regardless of anything, as Marco said, better than anybody can say, you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. They would use it instantly. They wouldn't think about it. They would use it instantly. I've gotten to know them. They would use it instantly.
Does that give you more urgency, Mr. President? You said that you're in no rush to make a deal, but with gas prices that are so high across the country, people are paying more for travel. Does that give you more urgency to make a wide?
Well, I'll tell you the primary urgency, when I said this, it wasn't covered properly, but the primary urgency is that we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. But at the same time, we have a tremendous amount of oil, gas, coal. We have tremendous amounts of energy. We're blessed with something very special. Those prices are going to come down. They're going to come down fast. I think that you'll see, actually, Todd, I think you're going to see lower prices than we had even before we did this. Now, I knew there'd be an increase. I said, we have a choice. We don't have to do anything in 2 years or 1 year or 2 months, because Iran would have had, if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks from that date, because they were ready to go. And if they had a nuclear weapon, it would have been used already. It also would have been used had I not terminated the Obama deal, the Iran nuclear deal, as we call it. That was in my first term. Had I not terminated that, they would have had a nuclear weapon a long time ago. I would say it was a guarantee that it would have been used, and it would have blown up Israel. It would have blown control of money that they claim is theirs. We'll keep control of that money. When they behave properly and when they do what's right, we'll let them have their money. But right now, we're not doing that, and it's not, one thing is not contingent on the other.
Mr. President, on the shooting last weekend, it came barely a month after the third assassination attempt against you during the White House Correspondents' Center. What was your reaction when you first heard about the latest shooting, and what gives you the courage to really keep doing your job effectively without thinking about these threats every day?
Well, I can't think about it, because if I thought about it a lot, I wouldn't be a very good president. I wouldn't be here, probably. I'd be up in some room with a locked door and say, just leave me alone. So I can't really think about it. It's just something that, it's a sad part of life. It's a dangerous business. What I'm doing is a dangerous business. And they say, and look, we have been maybe the most consequential, but we've certainly been one of the most consequential. This group has been a very consequential administration. And they say if you're not consequential, you don't have so much problem. If you are consequential, you do. So you have to look at that. But it's a shame. It's a very sad fact of life. Look, anybody in office, not only in this country, in other countries too, but when you are a consequential president, your life is in grave danger. I knew that. Yeah.
Mr. President, how would you characterize the current state of the talks with Iran? I guess if it were a football field, what yard line would you be on?
Well, I think we're doing very well. I think starting to give us the things that they have to give us, and if they do, that's great, and if they won't, then the man on my left is gonna finish them off.
Is there a time frame in your mind?
What?
Is there a time frame in your mind for this?
I mean, it happens quickly. The problem is every time I mention a time frame, for instance, I see, we've been doing this for a few months. Vietnam lasted 19 years. Korea lasted 8 years. Afghanistan lasted many years. They were all many, many years, and we were into it for a few months. And I read about you people like you. What's taking so long? But we're in it. We lost between two wars, two big wars, Venezuela and Iran. We lost 13 souls, 13 great people. Met the parents, great people. And it's a terrible thing, but 13. If you look at the war casualties and the deaths in wars from Vietnam and all that, they lost hundreds of thousands of people in numerous of these wars. We're very cognizant of that. We want to lose very few. We want very few to be injured. We're very careful. But war is war. War is dangerous. But we've lost 13. I saw the Democrats took an ad putting in the 13 people that were lost. And when you look at hundreds of thousands of people that were lost in the Middle East, Iraq, all the different wars we were in, we have done an amazing job. With that being said, I hate to lose 13. I hate to lose one, but we've been very capable. I mean, when you think of it, we took over Venezuela in one day. We have done a similar job, but we said, well, give them a little chance at the request of somebody that we greatly respect from Pakistan, the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister. They've been great. They asked us, would we pause the war for a little while because they'd like to do so. We'll do that. But we had them beat. They're, no better now. We could close it out very quickly. If we can do it in a different way, that'd be good. If we get everything we want, but we could close it out very, very quickly, and we may have to. I don't think so, but we may have to.
Money in the World Cup here and increasing infrastructure. Does the economic benefit outweigh the cost?
No, the World Cup is great. It's the most successful they've ever had. Ticket-wise, they've never had anything that sold so quickly. It's amazing because it's the United States. You don't think of I call it soccer. It's just easier to do because we have football and they have two footballs, right? They call it football. But most people never thought they'd see anything like that. The World Cup, it's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening than they've ever had. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much. Roman Ortiz-Smith, Framework USA. I have one question for you and one question for Vice President J.D. Vance on fraud. What's your message to the New Jersey leaders pushing back against ICE operations at Plainville?
About ICE?
Yes.
Or about NICE, as they call it, NICE. The NICE facility. I'd love to change the name, call it NICE. They do a great job. And it's all paid for protesters. You can see by the signs. The signs are all made by the same beautiful factory. It's a printing plant. In fact, I'm thinking about using it. They do such a nice job. These aren't protesters. These people are fake. They're all paid for. And I will tell you, Tom Holman and that whole group, and now Mark Wade is so incredible. Mark Wade, do you want to just respond to that? We run the finest facilities anywhere in the world of their type. But we have some horrible killers. We have killers. We have guys that have murdered numerous people in there. And these are the people they're trying to protect. There's nobody that runs a facility like we do. Mark Wade?
Yeah, it shows that this radical left Democrats' priorities when they decide to go out and protest a detention center where we're housing rapists, child predators, murderers, drug users, and they choose Memorial Day of all the time to go protest something that they say that that it's because they're on a hunger strike when there was only a handful of individuals that refused to eat because they want their ethnic group or their ethnic right food. Well, they go back to the country and get whatever food they want. The fact is, we're giving them the calories they want. This isn't Holiday Inn. We're giving sanitation. But for the Democrats and the governor, like Governor Sherrill and Senator Kim and Senator Booker, to go out and do something like this of all the days is very frustrating. And we see Antifa signs are literally out there. The local police literally refusing to respond. They barricaded, not allowing our employees to come in and out. ICE has to go out there, remove the barricade, and then you have one of the senators complain because he got splattered with a pepper ball.
I'm sorry, you probably should have been there.
One thing I'll say about that, the local police, I know a lot of New Jersey police, they're phenomenal, they love us. But they're told not to do anything.
Right.
They love us, they love him, they even love me a lot. And I'm in New Jersey a lot, it's great, I mean, I think it's a great place. And it's got a group of people running it now that are having a hard time. But they really like this administration. They love this administration more than any administration they've ever had. And they're thanking me all the time. And, I see those guys going up and down the Jersey Turnpike with their big, beautiful hats on. They say, I'd like to look like that someday. They're great. No, these are great people. And they love him and they love ICE and they love the Border Patrol. And they're not allowed to talk to anybody. It's like, but it all comes from the top. They have to follow orders. They want to keep their jobs.
Congress has a federal gas tax holiday.
A gas tax holiday? Well, it's something we might talk about. Let's see what happens over the next week, 2 weeks. A lot of good things are happening. No, I was invited I was going to go on Wednesday, but they closed it out very quickly. They're great. And Jim Dolan's a great guy. He's, as you know, owns and in charge of Madison Square Garden. He's having a good year. Boy, what a team. They won all their games. They have some great players. I think I'll be going to one of the games. I was invited by numerous people and Jim, and I think I'll be going. It's great to see it. Yeah, the Knicks have really suffered for years, and they're doing right now very well.
Agreement with Iran that just calls for further talks on uranium? Or
No.
the only option?
No, the basics. No, I would for some of it, yeah, because it's a memorandum of understanding for speed. One of the things that will happen is the string will open immediately, but it's gonna be perfect. I'm not gonna do this. I didn't do this to get a crummy agreement. The worst agreement ever signed was by Barack Hussein Obama. What a horrible agreement that was. It was a setback for this country, for the whole world. The Middle East would have blown itself up. No, and we'd like to have the countries we're talking about, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and the others, we'd like to have them immediately join and see Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but we'd like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us. See where you're gonna get them to sign? We're definitely pushing it, Mr. President. I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You wanna know the truth? If they don't sign to join the Abraham Accords, I don't know that we have countries in there already. UAE, great countries, bold countries, and it's turned out to be so good, so effective, and so we're, requesting strongly that they join. It'll be great. It'd be great for Saudi Arabia. It'd be great for Qatar, Kuwait, the whole group.
So the Iran deal might be contingent on more countries joining.
I don't know. I don't want to say that. I'm not going to give you, what's contingent, what's not. I can say that we can make a good deal right now, but maybe not a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, we're not making it. So, because we can make a great deal with this guy right here. And, but it's a lot nastier. Probably wouldn't go as quickly. Wouldn't be talking about as quickly, but it would be foolproof. But I think we're doing very well, Steve. I think we're doing pretty well in terms of the negotiation. But we'll see. If it's not going to be a real deal, because Obama had that horrible JCPOA, whatever it was the worst deal. It was a path for Iran to have a nuclear weapon very quickly. Years ago, they would have had a nuclear weapon. We might not be here talking about it right now. They would have had a nuclear weapon. And frankly, Obama picked the wrong country. He should have picked another country. I won't tell you what it was. But he picked the wrong country when he picked Iran. But we have things understood now with Iran. It's been nasty. They've lost their leaders. They've lost. And it really is regime change. We didn't set out for regime change. But by the fact that we're dealing with a totally different group of people than we were at the beginning. And frankly, I find them to be much more reasonable. I actually find them to be smarter but I find them to be much more reasonable. This is regime change. One regime is gone, another regime is gone, we're dealing with the third. Pieces of it, because some of them are gone too. And I find them, I think, how can you have a stronger regime change than that, you know? So I do find that, I'd like to thank you all very much. You're doing great. Our country is doing fantastically well, and this group of people is outstanding. Thank you all very much.
Trump is something else. Well, anyway, this was like a long, like he does a long cabinet meeting, but I do give Trump his kudos because there hasn't been any other administration that has done a live cabinet meeting. And a lot of people haven't been privy to see what it looks like when they go around the table. They give an account as far as their department that they're leading, and they are giving account of what they accomplished that month or whatever the case may be. And just to invite us all in, not just the United States, but they're inviting the world in, and they're answering to the American people. And that's more than any other administration has done. So moving forward, whether it's a Democrat president or Republican, it should be expected that they include the American people on these cabinet meetings. And no one in previously have taken as many questions as Trump. Like they do long meetings, but he sometimes, he's can be a little bit over the top, but he does take questions from all the reporters. He doesn't use a script. He answers everyone. Prior administrations, they had selected reporters that were allowed to ask questions, and they already knew the questions, and they only took few questions. So, if anything at all, at the very least, he does take questions. I wish the reporters they can hold his feet more to the fire, but I think that if they do, then those reporters won't be called on as much because when he gets angry, he start calling them names and you're from the left, I knew you're a CNN and why you ask a dumb question. So he does, go after the reporters, but they're there to do a job, and their job is not being beholden to any president. The job is beholden to the American people to ask the questions that we are not privy to ask because we're not in the room.
It's like if people disagree with that, I guess they're more happy with Joe Biden being in hiding and on vacation.
Joe Biden didn't take any questions. He didn't talk to the media. Well, Kamala Harris was vice president for 4 years and hid for 4 years. She didn't take questions. Even when she was never the nominee, but even when she was running for president, she had a 3-month campaign and 2 entire months. She didn't even speak to the public or to the reporters. And when she did, she had spoken the word salad. So, at the very least, I just feel as though that he's setting an example for future administrations, and we should demand for our leaders to speak to us, whether we agree or disagree with them or not. Now, there was a lot of things that he said during the meeting that I agree with, and then I don't agree with. We talk about 13,000 jobs through the secular world, but you're not talking about all the jobs that have been lost since this administration and what work like the vice president. They talking about all this fraud and all this stuff is going on. I hopefully it's not going to trickle down to people that really need the help. It's like all these programs and things are being cut, even affecting daycare because what happened in Minneapolis, like people, it's fake daycares. People can't go to work without some of the assistance of the government because daycare for a baby, people paying $3,000 a month, or they might be paying thousands of dollars a week for an infant for daycare. So mothers can't even go to work because they're going to work to pay for the daycare.
Descartes, why we still are talking about Biden because of the atrocity he has done to this country.
Gotta get in the camera.
That's why we're still talking about Joe Biden.
Well, anytime you have a former administration, there's always going to be a comparison. People are going to compare. When Trump is out of office, then the conversation is going to be comparing Trump's administration to the future president administration. That's just how it goes. It's always going to be when Obama was president, that he was compared to the next person that had taken office, which was Biden. People are going to compare presidencies. That's what we do. What?
So they said, "Oh, Elijah, you sound brainwashed. Bless your heart."
Bless your heart too. But God is good at the end of the day. I think people are too stuck on man and they're not stuck on God. And like we said, we're not beholden to man, we're beholden to God. So people, they're more beholden to party than the truth or what the party's actually doing for the people. So if anything, you should want the best for your families. If anything, you should want affordability. If anything, you should want housing, and you should want your utility bills to be reasonable. You should want opportunity. Like people come from all over the world talking about the American dream, and you got people in America that's not achieving the American dream in the country that they live in because a lot of the programs and things they're more set to help people that aren't even citizens than the people who are here. It's harder for Americans to go in those banks sometimes to get loans than people who are not from this country. And that's the truth.
Descartes said our country was not in shambles under Biden. It's not great now. The comparisons are lies.
Well, everybody has entitled to their opinion. You know, I think that it didn't help opening up those borders. It didn't help at all. I think Obama had a better administration than Biden did. Biden's objective was to declare Transgender Day or Easter Sunday. He's the father, grandfather of transgenders. Obama was the president of LGBTQ. So they were focused more on those issues. They were not focused on like more the welfare of the American people. But Obama, I think, administration was better than Biden. Biden's whole objective, he opened up the border, and then he was absent. He spent more time away from the office than actually in the office. He was on vacation. What they say, 43% of the time. I forget the numbers. He used to say it all the time. But he wasn't an active president.
It didn't help paying the Taliban in Ukraine.
Like they were paying the Taliban ban from I think 2021 and counting, they paid them millions of dollars cash payments. Why? So it's a lot of things that have gone on that's questionable. But each administration, there's no perfect administration. I think there are problems in all the administrations. And I think it becomes what they say politics. Everybody's emotional and sensitive, not understanding the people at the big table. They playing a whole different game, power game than what we see. Everybody in their feelings, and you're not benefiting like they're benefiting. Those are facts. They're controlling everything. We're not. We control our votes. That's why it's important for you to go to the poll and vote because your vote does matter. Never let anyone convince you that your vote doesn't matter. If you don't like neither candidate, when you don't vote, you're still voting. You're still helping one of them get into office. So at least vote for the least between the two, your favorite.
Well, John, we're people of God and we follow God's rules, not man's rules.
But people are stuck on people. They stuck on people and they stuck on party, and you're not really looking at what's being done for you. You need to look at people records, regardless of party. See what they're doing that's favorable for you and your family. Are they creating jobs? Are they supporting health care? Are they lowering interest rates? What are they doing for your communities? What are they bringing to help support you and your families?
Someone said,
What?
It's funny today. They said, let me ask you a question. How can you believe, they're saying this in the chat, how can you believe a word these people say when we can hear the fire alarm chirping in the background for months?
We don't have a fire alarm going on. We don't have a fire alarm going on. So whatever you hear must be in your head. I'm sorry, but we don't have a fire alarm. But that is funny. We'll go with it. But anyway, we're not looking for people to agree. You can agree to disagree. That's what the chat is about. Everybody has one thing. You have a right in the United States of America. You have a right to your own opinion. Nobody's on here trying to convince you to believe in what they believe in. You're able to voice your opinion in the chat, and y'all are talking to one another. And I see different things that people are saying. Some of it is funny, some of it is really out there, but you're having conversations. So you see that people aren't in agreement with everyone. No one, like I said many times, no one's in agreement with everything everyone says. Not your boss, your kids, your spouse. Nobody agrees with everything.
Thank you for watching us very closely.
And thank you guys. We do appreciate everyone that's come on here. And what I noticed is like our channel, I gotta like talk to YouTube because we're used to getting a hell of a lot more views than we are receiving because they changed the rules. So likes matter. So when we're in the chat and we're saying please like, share, subscribe, that's how you support the channel for free. We're not asking for monetary support, which would be welcome, but at the very least, it doesn't cost you anything to hit a like. It's good to have conversations. One thing that you can't take away from us is that we are real. We're not fake. We don't put on acts for people. And we know if we take a trash black community like some of the other channels like Daniel, Rich Wall, what's his name? Anton name, like different YouTubers, LFR. Yeah, we trash. We would be really in there with the people, but we're not gonna sell our souls for a channel. We're gonna do what's righteous and what's right by God.
Thank you for giving us a place to have a discussion.
That's what this is about. It's about having a discussion. And the discussion opens up avenues of understanding. You get to see, well, this is why I feel a certain way. I feel a certain way because of this, and this is why you're able to have your disagreements. But we all should still strive for one thing: to have better lives for our children, better jobs, better economy. These are things that we should agree upon, regardless who's in office. Because guess what? It's back and forth. Republican in office, Democrat in office. Republican in office, Republican in office, Democrat in office. Democrat, Democrat. It's like it's either or. So we have to learn to adapt. We have to learn to get the most out of whoever's in office, regardless of party. We don't know in 2028, you don't know if it's going to be a Democrat or a Republican in office. And it depends on who's running. Right now, we look at the poll. What's the poll at now? The poll, read that.
Who would you vote for as president in 2028? Who would you vote for as president in 2028? JD Vance 36% and Marco Rubio 64%.
So JD Vance, I think that they're seeing, and that's what they're looking at. Even in this poll, people by far favor Marco Rubio over JD Vance. JD Vance has a smugness about him. He has this thing about him that's not gravitating towards all Americans. He has a certain group that appreciates him, but if you're going to become president of all these multi different cultural groups that reside in this country, you have to have that appeal for everyone. You're not going to get into office believing that you can redline, redistrict, and you just have a certain group of people voting for you. You need other votes from Hispanics, from Asians, from Black people, from Indigenous. You need people to support you. And right now, he might be the VP, but I'm not feeling him at all because I see him. And right now in that office is too much racism that's going on. It really is. The administration, Trump first administration, I didn't feel all this racism that's going on. But now it's like out in the open. It's not even being hidden. And I think that's going to be a turn off in 2028 because the Republicans most definitely not going to get the black vote. They're not going to get the black vote because of removing a lot of from the Civil Rights Act and all this going after black men. Over 2 million black men voted for Trump, but they're going to these sanctuary cities and they're trying to find a reason to lock up black men. Like they want to keep black men like they the thugs, regardless of their education, regardless of whatever. You already lost the black vote, And black people don't want to vote for the Democrats because the Democrats haven't done a damn thing for black people. So we're in this, what is it called? What's that word? Begins with a T. I can't think of it. Not that's not the word terror. I can't think of it. But we're at crossroads right now, like who to vote for. We need an independent candidate to run because between the two parties, both of them are failing. They're failing the American people. They're not doing enough for the American people. We're involved with Ukraine war. We're involved in Iran war. And then we got our own implosion going inside the United States. We got our government fighting against certain citizens. It's like, it's crazy. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But I think that Marco Rubio is going to run. J.D. Vance, he's questionable to run because they think they might pull him back because they're not going to pump money. It's about money, y'all. They're not going to put money in a candidate that can't win.
Someone said, I hate Trump, but the black community kind of brought it on themselves. How did we bring it on ourselves?
You know what? You are living in such a bubble land that you're going to blame people like black people brought it on themselves. You need to please expand on that. The black people brought it on themselves. So we were shackled and brought to this country, enslaved, tormented, worked from sun up to sundown. Then they call us lazy. We try to build Black Wall Street. They burn it down to the ground. Everything we try to do, they try to step on your neck and stop you. And every time there's an attack, they want to make us the face of DEI, which we are not. They do everything to suppress, and they got this narrative about black people, a false narrative when we are inventors, doctors, lawyers, billionaires, millionaires, athletes. We set the world culture. The world follows black Americans. Our style, our music, our culture, the world, from Asians, everybody takes from us.
That's like saying that Native Americans brought it on themselves.
Ain't gonna say we brought it on ourselves. What? And we're resilient. They talking about being resilient. We are resilient people. They lock us up. They imprison our men. Then they say there's no men raising the children because they take the men. That's how you keep slavery. You lock up the black men. That's how you keep slavery. Then they're not reproducing. Not like white people have more sex than black people. You put the men in prisons. You allow them to be raped. Then they become homosexuals. Then you send them home. Then they come into the community. And then they terrorize the families because they've been put in situations. They've been over sentenced. All these different things affect the black community. But guess what? We're here. And we're the people of God. And we still survive. So to say we didn't bring all that on ourselves. We are high achievers, extremely high achievers. And those civil rights bill that people maybe like yourself are benefiting from became from black struggle, black protest, black people dying, these voting rights, all these things that people are benefiting that's coming in from around the world is because of the black community. Now you got Indians,
John.
Asians, Hispanic, everybody thanking us now.
John, I see you keep defending this with our points we're making, but there's no gene for that. You choose to be like that. It's not like your race. You choose to be of that lifestyle.
What are you answering to?
No, he said, I don't think that's how the people you brought up are made.
What people are brought up?
People of that persuasion.
I'm not even talking about that persuasion.
No, he was saying how you're saying black men because
black men are raped in prisons. Why do you think they don't do anything about it? Isn't rape a crime? We're more concerned about what happened to non-citizens, but how many of our congressmen and women and senators and governors visit our prisons to see what's happening to the prisoners that are being held? They're paying for crimes, but they're not supposed to be raped. Did they go and see if they have air conditioning like they did in Delaney Center facility in New Jersey, in Newark, New Jersey? Do they go and they have a hunger strike because they're not getting the type of food they want? And these people have been arrested because they committed crimes since they've been here? And they tell them, let them out? Why don't they visit our American prisons and have that same empathy for them? Things are allowed to happen. We know this has been going on for, nobody's in denial any longer. You can't even deny the injustices and the mistreatment. If you don't know the history of this country, I suggest you go to the National African Museum. It'll take you like 10 hours to be in there to see the atrocities and the things and what has happened to Black Americans and how we still rise. We're God's people. We rise. You know, and that's how we just move forward. But what we want is a country that's for all the people. But all these setups, stop painting us as the bad guys when we're not the bad guys. We never haven't shackled or wiped out. How many Native Americans? 500 million? We didn't wipe up whole nations of people. That's not us.
Well, Gong, you know, people are falsely accused. People are in jail for minor crimes. People.
But the bad part about it, the people committing most crimes are not highlighted. We don't commit the most crimes. It's not us. Look at the FBI reports. That's all you have to do. You trust FBI or as a search agent. It's not Black people, but anytime it's a crime, see, it's a Black person. See, they did this, they did that. But they didn't show you all the cop killings, who's committing those. It's not us. That's swept under the rug. It's not even, the White House don't even talk about. Since Trump been in office, it's been like a half a dozen or more of those type of crimes that they don't even talk about. Or mass shooters. They don't talk about it.
People got sent to years to prison for weed, and weed is like celebrated now. It's sold in every store.
Everybody, yeah, and people still locked up for weed.
Yeah, for weed.
And it's legal in most states. Weed. Look, y'all could stay in Lululand and try to justify injustices, but it's wrong. And God knows it's wrong. And it's more comfortable for you to believe a lie. You don't want the truth. But you can find out yourself who are the criminals of this country. And it's not us. Who's been the most mistreated? Maybe it's the indigenous.
Yeah.
The Native Americans. Followed by Black people that were brought over here and were enslaved, that were shackled. Children sold used as animals, like they didn't have a right to live their lives. Were beaten and tortured, even experiment on. Fed their babies to alligators. They have done so many atrocities that it's too many to number. It was so inhumane. And let's not forget all the lynchings. Thousands of people. Thousands. And then they want to call who thugs? Are you kidding me?
Roy Woods, what we're saying, what has happened to Black people.
Yeah, when they said that,
over your head.
Yeah, and they said it's our fault. Yeah. Is what about that is our Black people fault?
He keeps saying we play the victim. Look up the.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah, but
what he says, it doesn't matter. You give him to what he says, that if he wants to stay in a lie, I just told him it's not us. Just believe what you want to believe. That makes you more comfortable. When you look at that Black person, you see somebody that is great and strong and successful. People once try so hard to keep us down if we weren't a threat intellectually, physically, all of that.
That's why I like the show.
That's why people don't worry about people that there's not a threat to them as far as society. God didn't make any ethnicity with a smarter brain. All our brains are the same. It's not because of the color of your skin that makes you brighter. That's why knowledge and education was withheld from people who were enslaved, because knowledge is power. The Bible says people perish for lack of knowledge.
That's why I like Blackish, because it shows educated, successful.
Yeah, they try to keep away from you all the success, all the inventors, from your traffic lights to washing machines. There's so many inventions that Black people are in through the worst time in history for Black people in this country, but they were inventors. You know how many inventions were stolen and they still contributed? Even to the light bulb? It's like it's a lot of stuff that people feel more comfortable not believing, but we all are created by God. And God did not make someone smarter or brighter because of the colors of their skin. We all have the same capabilities. We all do. And we have shown it time and time and time again. But these false narratives, the media, they try to like carry false narratives, but they don't show you all the news. They don't show you the crimes that are being committed by other ethnicities. That's not the objective. The objective is to paint a picture for you, to let you think a certain way. That's why the media is so influential. They can paint what they want you to believe. And it's been going on for years. I didn't know it. I did not know it. I didn't know it until I start, because of the, now we have search engines, we have the internet, we have ground news, we have so many ways of finding out the truth. And that's what's important. That's why this is Speak the Truth 2.0. Speaking the truth matters. And people rather stay in darkness. They rather paint a lie. Like, and the people say stuff, they're not even smarter than their neighbor. You're not the smartest person on your job. You know, so it's amazing. So anyway,
You know we got white in us, right?
Anyway, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. At the end of the day, we all going to answer to God. And like I always say, that there's no only one section in heaven. Now, I saw a preacher kind of took what I say. I say it all the time on my live streams. There's no all white section in heaven, or Asian, or Black, or Hispanic, Native American. Okay, we're going to have our spiritual bodies. God made us in his image. So all that separation and all that trying to define people by race, God doesn't define us by race. Every knee shall bow. That's right, Endure. He doesn't define us by the color of our skin. Okay? He defines us about Jesus. If you accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, that he died for your sins and he rose again, then you shall be saved. You have to believe in your heart and confess with your mouth. That's the only open door to heaven. You can be the nicest person in the world, and if you're looking that you're gonna be in heaven, like it's supposed to be if you make it there, because he said it's like a camel going through a needle. If you make it there, it's not gonna be like this section for you and like this section for the Hispanics over here. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. You know, there's no hierarchy about your color, your skin. And if you really know history, everybody comes from a Black woman. The white race been around maybe 1600 years ago. Everybody comes. That's why most of the world has pigmentation. Most of the world has color. Look at the Indians; they darker than we are. Yeah. A lot. You look at the Brazilians, Hispanics, different people. Or you go everywhere. You can see even the Aztecs in Mexico. You see the lips, the noses, everything. Even they said that the Native Americans were Black. You know, so
a lot of scholars believe the Garden of Eden was in Africa.
Yeah, they believe the Garden of Eden. It comes from the continent of Africa.
You guys can look that up if you want.
You know, so who knew? That's why history and finding things out is important. There's a lot of stuff that's been done throughout history. History does repeat itself. Like this is the same game plan that's here even in the United States that was done years ago. It's like they're trying to do the same thing as the 1994 crime bill. Now they got another bill trying to lock up young Black kids. So it's like a lot of stuff throughout history and things have been done, it repeats itself. And it's sad to say there's been a lot of cruelty. Not from all races, but from some.
Thanks, Endor.
You know, so God is good at the end of the day, and you can believe what you want to believe.
Everyone will find out.
God just said he was a Republican. What did he say? They said you said. What was they was talking about me?
I don't know who they're talking about.
They said you was a. Oh yeah, well, they said it wasn't talking about man. What happened? Okay, but you know, but until the next live, you guys don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe. That's how YouTube, they changed the rules. You got to get the likes up. That's why we try to push the likes doing a live, because we got it. And by us not, we haven't been consistently coming on, and we got to build the channel back up. We got to get the likes on here. So they'll send you guys, because these conversations are important. So we welcome the people that don't agree. We welcome you. We say that, and maybe I try to say it every time, because that's how you have conversations. You have some channels that want everybody is totally in agreement, totally in agreement with everything. But it's great to have people with different opinions, because that's when the truth comes out. That's where you see where we are as a nation. That's when we do the polls. We notice that now, like most of our polls with the Republicans, I can see like the crowd is kind of changed, because I see like a lot of the polls, they show who's watching and how what people feel about certain situations. Just like the poll, like who you think that's going to, who will you rather become president, say in 2028, JD Vance or Marco Rubio? Marco Rubio, he like floored it. I mean, people would rather have at this point, remember this is just 2026, 2028, things can change. But right now, overwhelmingly, people support more for Marco Rubio to become president than JD Vance. And I think that's being felt across the board. Like they say, they don't know that JD Vance is going to run now, because they're not going to pump billions of dollars into these campaigns for someone that's not going to win. And if he doesn't gravitate more towards all Americans, which he's not doing, this White House got elected and Trump won all the swing states because he had all ethnicities voted for him, all ethnicities. But it's not going to happen the next election. Because first of all, he went against now black men. The black community is not going to vote. Republicans could get the black vote, because Democrats haven't been doing anything for black Americans. But this administration has now changed hands and going against the black community. They're not going to vote for you. They're not going to vote for you. So that helps the Democrats to keep the black vote on lockdown, because it's trying to pick the best of two evils. It's like Democrats don't do anything for us, but they're not trying to remove artifacts out of the Smithsonian. They're not trying to move the Civil Rights Bill. They're not trying to take us back 60 years, things our ancestors fought for. So they're going to probably get the votes again. And the Hispanics, they tired of a lot of their people are being, deported, or relatives that came into the country or whatever. So you're not going to get the Hispanic votes. The Asians, I don't know where they at, but it's a lot of people that's not feeling this administration. I feel as though that they're losing the people that Trump gained. I feel like they're losing the people. And this is honestly, I feel that a Democrat has more of a chance of getting elected as president than a Republican at this point. And that's fact. Because you see those marches out there, those No King protests and all that. It's not black people out there. We're not out there. Those are all white people. Those are white people. So all white people is not MAGA and Republican. There are a huge amount of white people that are Democrats. And they're not going to support. I think a Democrat, if they get someone like Josh Shapiro, who I met and I know, who's been to my rallies and things like that, supported my rallies and spoken at my rallies and stuff like that. I think that from Pennsylvania, I think that he's going to be a candidate. I know what's his name from Maryland, Holden or someone like that. He's trying to build up a thing with the non-citizens. When he went over to, you know, went to get killed. What's his name? Killmonger or whatever. When they was going through that thing with him and him back and forth, he was speaking out for him. Holden, I think his name is Holden or something like that. But anyway, so I don't know, but I think Josh Shapiro, probably the governor from Governor West. I think he's from Maryland. He seems to be outspoken. And Shapiro, I think it's like, as far as a woman, I can't think of one woman that's running that could run in the Democratic Party that will win. Like AOC might try to campaign, but I think that she not gonna get elected. Jasmine Crockett, they trying to fade her out, removing her district. People can't even vote her back into office right now. But who knows, in 2028, she could still run for president if she has the backing. but I can't think of the only person that could run seriously. That's a woman is Michelle Obama, and she doesn't like politics. She's not going to run, but I think she's the only one that's a woman that could carry that party, unless they can convince her to throw her hat in it with Michelle Obama and Josh Shapiro. If they become a ticket, that would be a strong ticket, Democrats. Josh Shapiro, he's loved by Pennsylvania. You want that Pennsylvania, you want to win Pennsylvania. They lost, Trump won Pennsylvania because she didn't pick Josh Shapiro, Kamala. She picked Tampon Tim. She would have won Pennsylvania if she had picked Shapiro. Shapiro is loved by Pennsylvania. He's loved by Pennsylvania. And she didn't go with them. They lost Pennsylvania. But I think Michelle Obama and Josh Shapiro, that's a real ticket if it would happen. As far as the Republicans, people, Vance is not going to win. I hope y'all do put him. Vance is not going to win.
Versus
Marco Rubio and Tulsi. Let that be a ticket. You got was she ranked? What was she, a general, colonel, something in the military? Put Marco Rubio and Tulsi, and put Josh Shapiro and Michelle Obama. That would be a great race. Then I would be able to make choices. That's then you would have legitimate, educated, great candidates, which we haven't had in a very long time. A very long time. Put them out there. Put them out there. I want some really great candidates. Josh Shapiro is about the people. Michelle Obama is about the people. They're about those two about the people. Put them together. Marco Rubio, he's about the people. Tulsi, she's a strong woman. You need someone, whoever's a VP, whoever leads the ticket, to be able to carry the ticket if something happens to the president. I think those would be phenomenal tickets. I think I'm gonna push that. Those two, that would be great for us to choose between those two parties. Now that's a real party run. Is it going to happen? Who knows? But I would love to see that. I don't think it's anybody else that would be a better ticket than that. But if Michelle Obama were to agree, she's a force. Michelle Obama and Josh Shapiro, I'm telling you, y'all don't believe it. I'm telling you the truth. They would get the vote. They would be winning. They would be winning so much. But you put JD Vance to run against Josh Shapiro and Michelle Obama with whomever, they're not gonna win. But Josh Shapiro and Michelle Obama with Marco Rubio and Tulsi, now we got a real ticket, you guys. That would be so refreshing to have really two groups of outstanding people from the Democratic Party and from the Republican Party that people know. We know them. That would be phenomenal. I would love to see that happen. I really would love to see that happen because it's only going to. But we always wind up with the worst, the least of the least. But I hope that would be the party. I would love to see Michelle Obama and Josh Shapiro. I think that would be a freaking great ticket. That would have a lot of people that voted Republican to vote for the Democratic Party with those two. And I think with Marco Rubio and Tulsi, that would be a toss-up. Who will win this election? Because I think that we can't go wrong with either one. I think both of them would be great. I really do. So anyway, refreshing indeed. Yeah, endure. Dems can dream. We need new faces. Yeah, we need new faces, but you have to have people who are established. They are, you don't understand. Look up Josh Shapiro and see how important Pennsylvania is to win the election. It's always a factor. Look him up. And look up Michelle Obama. Harvard grad. Look her up. And her husband is the former two-time president, Barack Obama. I mean, look that ticket up, and then look up Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, and Tulsi. Look them up. I think that would be an incredible ticket. Cindy, a woman has fight to change their mind. Michelle Obama. Yeah, I wish she been like pushing it back. They've been trying to get her. They've been trying to get her to run, but if she really care about the country, because she knows more about the politics than we do, the sacrifice and the toll it takes on you, that we don't experience. So she hates it, but she's a lawyer. She's qualified. She's most definitely qualified. But I hope that they can talk her into it. Talk her into it. Talk Michelle Obama into it. She's an orator. She can speak extremely well. She's a mover and shaker. And I think it would be extraordinary to have those two tickets, but that's only just a dream. Those two, Marco Rubio and Tulsi, Josh Shapiro and Michelle Obama. That would be fire. That would be fire. Yep. Yeah, that would be fire. That would be. I don't care. Look, you guys, I'm telling you, that would be absolutely fire. I didn't get to meet Michelle Obama. I'm sorry. Of course, I met like Barack Obama and different people like that, but I never had the opportunity to meet her. I met like Jill Biden, the Bidens and all them. But I would have been. I would like to see that ticket. I'm most definitely gonna be. I don't know who I'm gonna campaign for. So I'll be doing some rallies and campaigning and getting back out there. Getting back out there. So they just waiting. I literally call it, well, they just waiting for me. I just took a time out from all of that. But that would be incredible. That ticket. And I just was looking at me with Josh Shapiro today, earlier today. He was at like one of my rallies, had a big bus out there and all that kind of stuff. I was just like looking at it and I'm speaking and me speaking at one of the rallies and everything.
Endorse Michelle can win, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be. Y'all need to look at Josh Shapiro too. Look him up. Kamala made a big mistake not choosing him for her ticket. She made a big, because he could actually speak, and he actually has accomplished a lot, and he's actually for the people. He is for the people, you guys. And I think that would be an incredible Democrat ticket for them to, and I think it would be an incredible ticket for the Republicans with Marco Rubio and Tulsi. So there you go. But who knows? This is not, but that's just a dream. It's probably not gonna be anything like that, but you can only hope. Anyway, you guys, we're gonna jump off. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you for the likes. We still didn't get enough likes. We got to do something about the likes. Yeah, we got to do something about the likes, you guys. But anyway, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking your time. Thank you as always, Endure. Thanks. We got to be consistently putting them. I'm talking to YouTube because like they just decide like the traffic or whatever they send. And I don't know, because we haven't been consistently coming on, took weeks off, all that kind of stuff. It's probably played a big factor. But we're going to get back to it. We know how to build it back up. And don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe on your way out. And also subscribe to Speak to Sports and Pray to All Here. I want to put up the preacher that just preached what I've been saying in this channel forever. I said, has he been on my channel? Because God gave it to me about the section in heaven. Like I'm like, what? He said what I say all the time.
I said Michelle Obama, Joe Biden would be a good ticket.
No, Joe Biden ship has sailed. He couldn't find himself out of the forest. They had him on camera. Nah, he's not. He's done. He's done. He's most definitely done.
It's Joe Biden and Michelle.
They're done. Yeah, Michelle Biden and Josh Shapiro. Biden he shouldn't even ran for president. He was unfit for duty. At the end of the day, we all got to see that he was suffering from dementia. So yeah, but anyway, and Trump can't run anymore. So, like, I know people say Trump 2028, but they got to understand that Trump is MAGA. I don't think JD is going to carry MAGA or whatever. Yeah. And the Republicans are not all on board. This MAGA and the Republicans even go against Trump. So They're not all
I
together.
think a good like runner up for someone that I don't know if Trump has any friends like it, but I feel like it would be good to find someone else who just tells it how it is, like how Trump is. Because JD Vance
It's
has
only
more of that fake kind of
he come off too
that
fake.
robotic, yeah.
Yeah, he's smug, like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's like he's not a people person, so he's not good. But Trump, if he could run, he would run. I'm quite sure, but I don't think that he's going to be able to run. But Trump has his own following. That's his following. It's not JD Vance or Marco Rubio or any of the rest of the people. There's only one Trump,
Yeah.
you know, so they can't duplicate Trump. He's one of a kind. So I don't know. Anyway, you guys, we're going to jump off and it's a little late. I want to come back on. I might come back on with something else because I need to build this channel back up. But now I'm going to be a lot more consistent.
I said Trump for VP in 2028.
Oh, maybe can he run for vice president? I never thought of that. Can he be vice president?
They vote for that.
I wonder, can he?
Yeah.
I know he can't really run for president, but can he be a VP? Not that he would.
Yeah.
Trump is not going to be second to anybody in command. Trump, he's not going to be second to anyone, but that would be interesting. He can't be VP level. Trump would be VP if he could be VP. Trump want to be the boss. You know, he's a boss. So he's not going to do that. So anyway, you guys, I'm going to jump off. Thank you, Endure. We got to get more moderators. This has been a really long live. But I'm going to talk to YouTube because they got to take that, restriction off of us, whatever's going on. And people be doing stuff behind the scenes that we don't know what's going on.
My name's not Oscar because I don't want to be a grouch like you, Oscar.
Okay. Anyway, thanks you guys. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy hump day. Have a good one. See you guys. And don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe. So, because we just randomly come on, but we're going to come on every day, even the weekends. We're going to just start coming on. God bless you guys.